after 8 overs. The run weight's down. They've lost early wickets. And it's in the main because of this man, Dimitri Mascarenhas, back from the IPL and bowling from the River End. He's up to the wicket now. Compton just goes forward and that'll squirt into the offside. Very good afternoon, Mr. Manning.
Good afternoon, lovely to be here, and what a beautiful day it is again today. It really is. The sun's shining, it's a lovely full ground here. Colin Atkinson Pavilion looking lovely as always. Nicely full up, I see, enjoying their lunches. And not a great start from Somerset, really. Great shame.
Here's Mascarenhas up to the wicket now. Bowls a little bit straighter this time, worked into the onside. Well, the ever watchful Compton forward.
Yes,
the umpire said no, but he seemed pretty much in control of his innings apart from that, Ben.
He has. He's beautifully poised as a batsman, a kind of Jacques Callis style way of batting, very correct.
Mascarenhas in. That's on the leg stump, turned around the corner, off his hips. Thought about a second, did Compton, but was turned down by the young Jos Buttler, who's got very fetching red straps to match his black pads. Somerset play on the Star Wars dark side kit. It's all black with hints of maroon.
Almost IPL-ish, isn't it?
It's pretty smart, but I'm not sure on Mascarenhas, and that's the line that he's been probing on.
He's been very good today, Mascarenhas. Once again, always on the money, very, very reliable. There's only really been a couple of balls really. Things been on the good spot in that corridor of uncertainty, sort of outside the off stump, and very disciplined bowling, really.
Yeah, a little bit of movement off the seam, not much, but just enough to aid him. Here he is again, bowling to Buttler. That's down the leg side. That's going to be called a wide, is it? No, it's not. Now, what? But explain that rule to me. I thought down the leg side. Maybe it went just over the top of the stumps. I certainly didn't think it did. Anyway,
surprising. Often they're a little bit more hard on bowlers in the 4-day game. It's perhaps he's being a bit more lenient, seeing as it's a sort of 40-over game. But Peter Willey is a hard taskmaster normally.
He is. Well, Michael Bates whipped off the bails, but Buttler was firmly in his ground. Here comes Mascarenhas to finish off. Again, it's that middle and off line. Just asking questions of Buttler, who comes down the pitch, prods it forward, and thus ends the end of the 9th over of the 10th over.
Time flies.
It does. 32 for 3 is the score. The man out, Craig Kieswetter, Pete Trigo and James Hildreth. Kieswetter and Trigo bowled by Mascarenhas. James Hildreth playing what in hindsight was a wild pull shot, and he was caught by Dawson.
It's a mystifying stroke, really. Rush of blood in the circumstances, really not what you'd expect from the Somerset captain, and Compton really has to come to the party here and save Somerset, I think.
Wood will continue from the old pavilion end, coming over the wicket, the left armour, and that's Compton in behind it, and there is no run.
Yes, Jos Buttler, of course, recovering from injury to the webbing in one of his hands there. He hurt himself in practice, I believe, and again, he's a key man. A lot of rebuilding with Somerset at the moment. A lot of exciting young players, of course, with the Overton twins. Only one of them playing, of course.
Wood in. That's a little bit straighter, and Compton will work this square of the wicket. It's young Briggs scampering in from deep square leg. One bounce into the wicket-keeper's gloves. You never know if they do that on purpose to rough up the ball, do you? But certainly,
true.
I think if there is any swing movement in the air, it's very minimal at this stage.
Yes, it's one of those sort of misty days when it might be a good toss to win in a sense, even though it's hot.
Here's Wood up to the wicket now. That's Fuller, and it's driven smartly square of the wicket by Buttler, and that's just going to dissect the man at deep third man and deep extra cover and go all the way for 4. And he's looked in pretty good nick, actually, Jos. He's had 2 balls in that area, both of which have been put away with aplomb. That's his second boundary. It moves Somerset sketchily onto 37 for the loss of 3 wickets.
Well, it's all steps and stages, and he's certainly come in with a very positive attitude thus far.
Wood in once more. This is straighter and it's worked into the onside, and Butler will get a single. Moves the score on to 38 for 3. Somerset Cricket, all one word, at bbc.co.uk is our email address. somersetcricket@bbc.co.uk. We've dusted down our old friend cricket email address. Be great to hear from you this afternoon, wherever you may be. If you want to tweet us, you can do so as well. At BBC Bristol Sport is the address. Here's Wood once more. Fuller and
single.
Compton playing a textbook.
Yeah.
Forward defensive,
Very
just
nice.
chanced his single there. Mascarenhas was just on his heels a little bit, maybe just running through those 2 dismissals in his head that he got earlier on. 2 smart pieces of bowling that took the off stump of both Pete Trigger and Craig Keysvetter, but it's a bit slow on that occasion. And Compton got a decent single, 39 for 3. This is the final ball of the 10th over. Here comes Wood again, driven, wonderful shot, but it won't beat the man at mid-off, which is Irvine. Sean Irvine doing the fielding. Butler steals a single, 40 for 3. So Somerset going at 4 runs and over. We've had 10, but really Hampshire very much on top. That's the first quarter of the Somerset innings done and dusted.
Well, of course, Hampshire coming into this game with so much confidence. They've played 2 and won 2 rather convincingly. And Somerset, of course, coming in with no wins, losing to Durham, of course, up in Durham at Chester-le-Street by 14 runs, and losing in their other games. So it's but they're at home, and it's a nice day, but no, it's a little bit cloudy now.
Dimitri Mascarenhas will continue. This is straight and wraps Butler on the pads, but sliding down the leg side, and there is no run. This is his 6th over, Mascarenhas. 14 for 2 his figures so far at 2.8 economy rate. That's very, very decent.
Well, he's a real journeyman cricketer, which is, of course, becoming very commonplace these days. He's played for so many teams, played in the IPL, of course. Really experienced. Played for England, of course.
Here he is now, and again he's on that probing middle and offline, and again Butler getting a big stride in and just playing it away safely into the offside.
I think Trago was a pretty crucial wicket. He hurt himself in practice, actually. He was hit on the knee, and it looked pretty terrible actually at first, but he recovered. He, of course, scored 89 in the championship match, so his wicket was really useful to Hampshire.
Here's Mascarenhas in once more. Exactly the same delivery. He's found his rhythm. Metronomic in style, Mascarenhas here. Not a long runner, not express pace by any means. It's on the slow side of medium fast. In fact, he's a medium pacer, isn't he, Mascarenhas? But a very, very wily customer. Knows his cricketing onions. Here he is, up to the wicket once more. He bowls, and again, that's a bit straight, but did that hit Butler on the pad? Just got an inside edge.
Going down leg maybe a little bit as well. But yeah, it's probably the pace of Darren Sammy kind of pace, I would say, mid-70s, 78. But yeah, that was, they thought about going up for that, didn't they?
They did, but then they realised that it hit his bat, and that would be a ludicrous thing to do.
Indeed.
So the score moves on to 41. Live from Taunton's county ground, resplendent in the May sunshine. Mascarenhas once more, bit fuller, but a good line again, and Compton forward defends that back to the bowler. There's no run. The members stand, the Marcus Trescothick stand at kind of deep third man, long on position. Heavily populated, great spot to watch the cricket. You get plenty of sun there as well. The members looking very colourful.
Bit of a sun trap there, though.
It is. As Mascarenhas is in once more. It's a bit shorter, and it's played off the back foot this time by Compton, but it was straight, and there's no run, and thus ends another decent over, 41 for 3, so just the single off it. And Mascarenhas and Chris Wood are on top here.
I think a few people raised a few eyebrows when Hampshire decided to bowl when they won the toss today, but looks like the right decision, you'd have to say, at present. They're obviously very confident, but then so's Nick Compton. I mean, He's only, what, 60 or 70 runs away from 1,000 runs before the end of May, which, of course, he'll break Graham Hick's record if that happens. Can't do it in this match, of course. But he's obviously in superb nick. So, yes, again, a lot of Somerset hopes resting on his shoulders. And Butler could also redress the balance. He's a wonderful striker of the ball, in pretty good form at the moment. So this is a crucial stage, and I see there's been a change in bowling as well.
Yeah, David Griffiths is coming on, deep in conversation with his captain, Jimmy Adams. Right armour. He's 26. He's from Newport on the Isle of Wight. A bit like Danny Briggs, who's an Isle of Wight. Here he is now. He bowls, and that's full, and it was driven into the onside by Butler, but he doesn't meet short mid-wicket, and there's no run. And I think a chance now. Griffiths is going to have to be on the mark, and he might just feed off what Mascarenhas and Wood has done before him. But Butler likes it on the ball. He's happy to drive,
yes,
isn't he, and get his shots out.
Yes, he does. He does. He often plays that very cheeky sort of shovel stroke that Peterson played yesterday in the Test match.
Yes, he does. The old Dilshan. Here is Griffiths in once more, a bit shorter, and Butler just up on his haunches, playing it back into the gully region. And he takes a straightforward single. Griffiths is playing in his 11th list day game this afternoon, as it's known. He's taken 11 wickets in that time, but has a best of 4 for 29, which isn't too bad at all.
Yes, it's interesting. I mean, they've had a short mid-wicket virtually permanently. It's been a pretty attacking field. A lot of guys on the offside at the moment.
Here's Griffiths in once more. That's on the middle stump and worked into the onside by Compton, but again to the man at mid-wicket, the captain Jimmy Adams, and there's a single taken to Compton. Compton moves steadily and serenely as is his way on to 14. Jos Butler, who's been in a much shorter time than he has, is just one run behind on 13. But that's kind of true to form, isn't it? That's what you would expect from these two. As Griffiths turns and runs in once more. Shot. It's full and it's driven, but that's a very good stop by
Irvin.
Sean Irvin, the man at mid-off. He had to do that tumbling dive to his right-hand side. There wasn't time for Butler to grab a single because he timed it so well, and you heard Ben say shot. It was a good shot, but often with these things, good shots get you nothing. And that was the case on this occasion.
Indeed, could do with a nice edge, really, at the moment, because there's nobody... Well, there is a wide third man, but...
Here's Griffiths in again. It's short, and that's slightly edgy, but we'll give Butler credit. He got on top of that. It was guided down to the man at third man, and he does pick up a single on this occasion. It's still in the power play overs here, which means that the majority of the Hampshire fielders are inside the ring. In fact, they're almost spread out symmetrically. There's 4 on the offside, and there's 4 on the onside, 2 of which are in the ring at short mid-wicket and mid-on. There's a deep square leg as Griffiths comes in and bowls on a good line and a good length, and it's just defended away. And that's a pretty decent start for the youngster from the Isle of Wight. End of the 12th over, 44 for 3.
Of course, coming into this game, one thing Somerset will have is a little bit of, well, high spirits from the last victory in the county championship. Different form of the game, of course, but beating Durham by 5 wickets was a tremendous effort. I was here on the first day of that match, doing a spot of commentating, actually. And Divenuto, of course, got 96. Will Smith got a century as well. And you'd have said in that baking sun that Durham would have won that game, and they seem to be stamping their importance on that match, but Somerset went on to win it. So, you know, morale will be good from that, though it's a different form of the game. So, you know, you just feel this is the crucial time for Somerset. If they can really lift their game, we shall see how it pans out.
Mascarenhas will continue his 7th over in a row, bowling to Jos Butler, who just defends that back down the pitch. He's been very watchful. I think Mascarenhas will probably bowl his 8 overs through from this stage. Might save him for 1 at the end, but I don't see the point. 6 previously have only gone for 15 runs. Tell you what, West Indies are fighting back in the Test match. England 363 for 7, so still 7 runs shy of West Indies, as Mascarenhas bowls to Butler. That's slightly off the outside edge, coming forward, goes to the man at point, which is Michael Carberry.
One wonders if they've got similar conditions to this with the sun's out up there, because it is swinging conditions, and Darren Sammy, I see, took a couple of wickets. These sort of conditions that medium pacers, swing bowlers tend to like.
Here's Mascarenhas up to the wicket, bowling to Butler, who's been very watchful here, playing within himself, coming down the pitch again and smothering any movement that there might be for Mascarenhas. He's just pinning him back on that middle and off line that's caused so much damage. If you've just joined us on BBC Radio Bristol, BBC Somerset, we're live from the county ground, Somerset against Hampshire CV40. Somerset have made a dreadful start there, 44 for 3. Mascarenhas bowls, and again Butler doesn't want to attack him. He watches it all the way onto the bat, and again there's no run, and this is 4 dot balls in a row, applying more pressure, Mascarenhas, and this is what's happened so far in this match. He's caused Pete Trigo and Craig Kieswetter in particular to make mistakes.
I think they both need to just play naturally, in a sense. Naturally, Compton tends to play correctly, not playing any silly strokes or anything.
Mascarenhas into Butler, who's also playing correctly. There's no run. It's a very good attendance, as is often the way at the county ground. Somerset stand not totally full, a few gaps of green seating, but the Colin Atkinson Pavilion, which has still got the bunting up in honour of what were some fantastic scenes here earlier this week, or last week I should say, given we're on Sunday now, and of course the Diamond Jubilee, which is still to come next weekend. Bunting going across there in the traditional red, white and blue as Mascarenhas comes in again. That finishes off with a maiden, first maiden for Mascarenhas.
Very good indeed.
And that was a splendid over. Butler not willing to attack any of those deliveries. It's the end of the 13th over. It's 44 for 3. I don't know if you were here on Monday, Ben, but
I wasn't, no. Actually, yes, I was. What am I talking about? I was with Somerset CC for some commentary and bits and pieces with them. So yes, I was.
So did you meet Will I Am?
I didn't. Actually, I was here. Sorry, correct myself. I was here on Tuesday for the first day of that county championship match. So I was here the day after.
You didn't meet Will I Am or Labyrinth,
I didn't.
The famous pop stars?
I didn't think for a moment that Durham's Will Smith was doubling up with a musical career. I did wonder for a moment, but it seemed unlikely as he was toiling away in the sun, hitting a lovely century. But no, it was extraordinary. They cleaned up very quickly.
Yeah,
the ground
absolutely.
looked perfect.
You wouldn't know, would you?
No.
Here's Griffiths in once more. And he's got a good few more yards of pace, hasn't he? The Hampshire bowler that's gone before him. He really bent his bat there. It was a shorter pitch delivery, but it was a good one. It was straight, and Compton got on top of it, played it out into the offside. No run, 44 for 3. Compton is still on 14, as is his batting partner, Jos Butler. Of course, Will Smith famously started out on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but had a musical career with Jazzy Jeff. So,
goodness me.
Here is Griffiths into the wicket once more, and that's a very good stop by Mascarenhas in the covers. And it
was a good stop.
Means that Compton only gets a single, 45 for 3.
Keeping things tight. I mean, on the face of it, both bowlers, they're bowling, very well and with great accuracy, but you would say that certainly if you're a classy batsman like Peterson or years ago with Richards, you know, their eyes would open up. You know, they looked to dominate them both. Perhaps that's deceptive.
Griffiths in once more, a little bit wider, and it's played away square of the wicket. There's going to be a chase on, but it's beaten the man out in the deep. That's Liam Dawson down now. It's a fine shot by Joss Buttler. That's 3 shots and 3 fours he's played square of the wicket, and it's come in 3 different circumstances: a late cut, more traditional cut there, and a covered drive as well. And the result has been exactly the same. There's a bit more pace on the ball when Griffiths is bowling, and that fairly raced to the boundary, and Somerset
really,
moved to 49.
He's really hitting well in that area, isn't he? He's doing very well there.
Griffiths in again.
Ooh, again.
It's a little bit straighter, but a nice covered drive. In comes Dawson from the boundary's edge. Picks up and fields, and a ripple of applause for Somerset's 50. Perhaps taking a little bit longer than the faithful might have expected at this stage, and perhaps with the loss of a few more wickets than they would have liked, but better late than never been.
Yes, this is cricket, isn't it? You never know what to expect, but exciting start to the match, and yeah, 3 wickets down, not the ideal start, but 2 very strong batsmen in, so it's a crucial time for both sides. Let's hope these 2 can prosper.
Griffiths in once more. Forward comes Compton, gets an outside edge, runs down to third man. Compton will pick off a single. 51 for 3. Yes, we were broadcasting live at the torch relay, and I saw the bus dropping off all the torch bearers, and oh, hello, there's Will I Am, the famous rap star from the Black Eyed Peas, or The Voice, BBC One. Taunton's favourite son, I think we've rechristened him now. Bizarre that was.
It was. Well, I saw some clip of that on Have I Got News For You, the BBC programme as well, which was unexpected.
Griffiths into Compton. That's a nice looking on drive, but it's fielded at short mid-wicket, and there's no run. Griffiths ends his second over, 51 for 3. That 4 came from it from Buttler, plus a single as well.
Black Eyed Peas, you wonder if it's on the menu over there in the Colin Atkinson Pavilion. They do wonderful carveries over there. It's
Oh, don't. I haven't had any lunch, and I think I might faint if you start talking about food at this stage.
I apologise. I should change the subject quickly.
Especially as I know their carveries are renowned, aren't they?
They are, yes.
Sumptuous.
They turn a vegetarian almost, I think. Magnificent.
Well, we thought he might. Mascarenhas is going to bowl his 8 overs through, and it's Nick Compton on strike, working it off his pads. A chase in from the boundary from Griffiths. He won't appreciate that after he's just spent the last 6 deliveries toiling away. But he fields, Compton gets a run, and it's 52 for 3. My dear old friend Mr. Thomas has been on touch via the email. Very good afternoon, Adam. Somerset need to win this game, as 3 defeats will mean they'll have to win all remaining games to qualify, all being in capitals. This is a little bit shorter from Mascarenhas, and Buttler just plays it off his back foot, but straight to the man at cover.
Interesting point, yeah.
Very surprised that Alfonso left out, as am I, but he came straight into the side after just getting off the plane, didn't he, this week, so he might be just...
He didn't look well in the championship game, really.
No.
Too exhausted.
Here is Mascarenhas once more again, but let's just watching that all the way onto the bat. There's no run. Interested to see how Jamal Hussain bowls, as he didn't play much one-day stuff either. With Somerset or Gloucestershire in the last 3 years, that is a very good point. Even when he was fit, he was generally left out of the one-day side. Thank you for your email, Adams. Somerset Cricket, all one word, at bbc.co.uk if you want to get in touch. Here is Mascarenhas once more. And it's played into the onside, and there's no run.
Yeah. What's interesting about this competition, of course, is if you do start off badly, you're kind of on to a little very, very quickly, which is one of the drawbacks, perhaps, of the competition in a sense. It's very difficult to come back if you lose early games, and Somerset getting a good look at Jamal Hussain before the 4-day game in the week, of course, and perhaps that's one of the reasons they played him particularly.
Mascarenhas in again. Butler just playing it late, guiding it down to third man, picks up an easy single. Somerset have sensed, perhaps a little bit too late, that Mascarenhas is the danger man, or has been the danger man for Hampshire. 7 overs prior to this have gone for just 15 runs, picked up 2 wickets. That of Keyswetter and Trigo. If you've just joined us, just about to see the end of the 15th over. Somerset 55 for 3. Here's Mascarenhas once more, and Compton again, steadfastly on the front foot, defending away. And the round of applause is for the end of Mascarenhas' spell. 8 overs, 1 maiden, 2 for 16. He may have been off gallivanting in the IPL, but clearly he's been sorely missed by Hampshire, because that was some quality bowling.
It was. I mean, you really know what you're going to get with Dimitri as a thorough professional. Of course, with Craig White, he does a lot of work, who is a very accurate bowler as well, who I saw is here, of course, today. And yeah, I mean, he's very, very reliable. Captain's dream in a sense in this form of the game, particularly.
Griffiths to continue from the old pavilion end, right arm fast. He's up to the wicket now. It's just short of a length, and Butler up on his haunches, playing it into the cover region where it's fielded by the captain Jimmy Adams, and there's no run. Why is there a blue screen over the old scoreboard there, Ben? What's going on? A bit of CGI, is it?
Well, we're hoping for some television entertainment, I would have thought. Looking at it, it does look like a huge television screen, so you expect some sort of DRS...
it's a bit dull what they're showing, isn't it?
Moments. Yeah, it is a bit, yes.
I'd rather watch the Olympic torch relay on the website.
Yes, yeah.
Here's Griffiths up to the wicket now. Fuller and driven by... And they're going to chance a single here, and there was a chance of a run out if Irvine would have been a bit quicker, but he wasn't, and he fumbled anyway, and that is well run by Jos Butler.
Well, it's one of those moments when technology lets you down, really. I mean, because it's a digital scoreboard, I think it was something to do with the damp or something got in there. I'm not quite sure, but you almost feel that it'd be worth running out the old-fashioned scoreboard and getting them
get the cards out.
Yeah,
I used to sit by the scoreboard at Barton St David Cricket Club, and the old rusty bits of metal.
Yeah.
Here's Griffiths in, and that's full, and it's driven by Compton. He's got a thick edge there, and it's a...
Well run.
I was going to say a fine stop, but in the end it was a misfield down at third man. Can't quite make out who it is down there, but the ball beat him. It was edged by Compton. That wasn't where it meant to go, but they all count. The sun peeks out from behind a misty cloud once more, and Somerset in the 16th over have moved on to 58 for 3. Compton now on 21, as is his counterpart Jos Butler.
Sun comes out beautifully. What a lovely sight it is. But yes, that was one of those edges that I was hoping for. Ideal.
Griffiths in, and again this is played late by Compton. This time more bat on it, guiding it down to third man. It's fielded and picked up, and Compton turned and scampered for a second. It is Chris Wood down there, is it? And just a single on this occasion. So 2 overs left from Griffiths' third over, and he's worked up a bit of a sweat, I can see here. His face is a slightly deeper shade of red than when he first started. 18 on his back. He runs away from this at the old pavilion here. He bowls it straight, and it's on driven, and that's a fine stop. Chance of a run out, but a terrible throw in the end. And well, in fact, the throw actually went backwards from Simon Katic. There was a great diving stop, flung himself to his left-hand side. Butler did scamper through for a single, but for a moment there, Ben, he looked like he might be in a spot of bother.
We did indeed, yeah. I mean, that would have been an absolute disaster because things are just beginning to grow for Somerset. Somerset just sort of getting on track now. That would have been tough luck.
Here comes Griffiths to finish off. It's full, it's driven, and it's Chinese cut by Compton, and he's lucky, and it's squirted dead square. He'll come in for two. The man comes in at deep square leg to field. Somerset then move up, had 16 overs. Somerset Cricket at bbc.co.uk if you want to get in touch. At BBC Bristol Sport is our Twitter address. And Ed Hadwin has joined us in the potting shed here. But for now, I'll leave you in the capable hands of Ben Manning.
Thank you. Well, it's certainly been an interesting day's afternoon's cricket so far. We've got a change of bowling happening now. I think we've got a spinner coming on who is Danny Briggs. So this will be interesting. A chance for Somerset to really start upping the ante, as they say, and get some spirited blows away over into the members. The sun is coming out as I speak. A bit of dark cloud above the Quantocks in the distance. What a beautiful sight those hills are, with their wonderful literary links with great poets and the like in the past. It's a beautiful, picturesque sight that greets us as Danny Briggs, no doubt, concentrating solely on the cricket, I'm sure, comes in past umpire Peter Willey, and that's a pretty flat delivery which Buttler drives up to cover, where it's fielded rather well there by Irvin, I think, captain, who dived on the ball quickly and got the ball very quickly back to Danny Briggs, who's in again. That's down the leg side. They think of going for a quick single. That's hit out on to the onside, but they didn't. And the ball is returned to Bates in seconds flat. So getting through this over quickly. Joss Buttler facing, of course, with those orange fluorescent straps that my colleague Pete was talking about, as he's in again, and he goes back and he forces that through the offside up to the boundary. There's a man coming across who fields that and fields it well, but they do take 2 runs, and nicely done that by Buttler. Sort of not really a cut stroke, more a sort of backward forcing stroke through the offside, and he came back for a couple of runs. So he certainly started nicely and positively in this over to the spinner, as Briggs again a flatter one, which he whips, and that nearly gets caught by the fielder at mid-wicket. They go for one, and that's all they're going to get, as that's fielded very competently there at down at sort of long. Well, it's not a long on, is it? As such, sort of standard mid-on, I suppose. He's going down to the boundary. That's Briggs there, coming in again, and he bowls, and that's a nice flat one that Compton goes for a quick single from the offside, trying to force that away. And Compton, as I speak, goes to the signals that he wants a drink to the dressing room. He's making it, miming it as I speak, and I think that's pretty imminent, is what he's requesting at least. It must be thirsty work out there. It's pretty hot in the middle as Briggs comes in again. That's down the leg side, goes to no other way. There's a chance for a run out, and there's an appeal, but it's not out, thank goodness, from Somerset point of time. But thankfully, Joss Buttler turned round and got back quickly enough. The bails were whipped off really quickly, but Buttler has hurt himself. Seems to have winded himself in the effort to get back, and he looks in a little bit of pain now. He's just took his helmet off and taking a rest, which will be a bit of a concern. There was a problem with Trago before the match even started, and we don't want Joss Buttler to hurt himself seriously. I'm not quite sure what he's done.
I think it's just a jarring injury, isn't it? I mean,
yes,
it wasn't good calling from Compton. It was his call to make. He kind of said yes, no, yes very quickly, and in the end, I mean, Buttler made his ground by a good foot and a half, so it was close, but not that close. But I would imagine that will just be a little sore on the maybe the knees if he's landed there. Certainly, if he's landed slightly awkwardly, he's walking somewhat awkwardly, but I think he'll be fine. And frankly, he has to be, because he's come in and played very nicely indeed.
He's signalling that he's all right. I think a mixture of the heat and just an unlucky fall. But yes, it's these two, as we were saying earlier, very, very crucial to Somerset's hopes and chances even in this competition. It really is that important. So, in a sense, these sorts of pressure games can be quite very exciting, and can bring out the best in some players. So let's see what Compton can do. He's just waiting now as Griffiths with the number 18 in fluorescent yellow on his back is just waiting. The umpire, Tim Robinson, just has an arm out, and now they're ready as Griffiths comes steaming in now. That's 78 miles an hour. That's dabbed down on the offside by Compton, who thinks of a single, but there's a no straight away. That really couldn't have been possible in any sense of the word, as Carberry ran across from point to field, and there's no one run as a seagull swoops in across the commentary box up here in the potting shed. It's a wonderful vantage point, really. We've got a lovely view of the whole ground, which is really wonderful as Griffiths comes in again, reaches the umpire, he bowls, and that's nice outside the off stump, good length delivery, but that's played again forward. Nice, correct, beautiful poise there from Compton. Always plays that forward defensive stroke so nicely. Again went out into the offside for no run, and lovely technique, Compton. Always a joy to watch from that point of view. As Griffiths, once again, good spell so far. It's, comes in again, past the chalk marks, reaches the umpire and bowls, and that's down the leg side and pulled round the corner, almost a hook stroke, but that goes down to the Colin Atkinson Pavilion, where it's fielded down there at fine leg, and they take a quick single.
Just a quick update on the England match. 373 for 7 now, so 3 runs ahead, almost identical run rate as well. They're both, well, the West Indies innings lasted 109.2 overs, England 373, 109 overs exactly. So it promises to be an interesting day's play tomorrow.
It does. It's all getting set up, which is rather nice, as Griffiths comes again, and that's played out into the onside by Butler, who doesn't get a run for that. The chap runs across there from mid-wicket, who is Simon Katich, the Australian veteran, of course, who had a little bit of a spat with the selectors, Australian selectors. It was a shame he kind of left under a little bit of a cloud, or was dropped, but he was a fine player, always, and is no doubt still, and often did a fine job for Australia, and he's a gritty individual, and he waits at mid-wicket as Griffiths bowls, and that's down the leg side, and that's whipped away for 4 runs. That's a lovely stroke, goes right into the boundary boards as I speak. Lovely shot there from Butler off of his legs, whipped it away on the onside and down to the boundary for 4. The fine leg running across, but had absolutely no chance, so that was a nice boundary.
Yeah, and just a poor ball really from Griffiths. Yeah. He dragged it back a little bit, it just took a little bit off it, slightly slower ball, but it was Midland leg, and I mean, it's meat and drink to a player of Butler's class, and he's got to improve, Griffiths.
He has. This is the danger really with a bowler of this type. Has to keep accurate as he bowls a better one on off stump, which again Butler just played it nicely back down the pitch where it was fielded by Griffiths. So Butler looking really good now. I think he's recovered from his little winding exercise where he fell over, and he's having a mid-pitch chat with Compton, talking about, no doubt, how the ball is behaving and the pitch. And they smack gloves there in that modern style. I always remember the first time I ever saw that was probably Greenwich and Haynes when I was a kid, and it's very much the norm now. And Compton just taps the wicket and waits to face Briggs, the spinner, who is flipping the ball from hand to hand. Peter Willey, the seasoned veteran, waits once more, umpiring as that's down the leg side, bad delivery, which is worked away on the onside by Compton for a quick single, nicely run, as the fielder runs in from a kind of a deep, almost a deep mid-wicket, or and a fine leg kind of position, but we've got Butler back on strike as Briggs bowls, and that's driven up to mid-off, and they're going for a quick single, which they take very easily. So things looking up for Somerset at the moment. Yeah,
they're just manoeuvring the ball around, hitting the bad balls. A very interesting little challenge between Briggs and Butler, who of course made their England debuts against Pakistan this winter.
Yes, as Compton plays that nicely up to extra cover for no run. Yes, it's it's interesting looking at them both, really. The England's future, Hampshire's future, as Briggs comes in, and that beats him outside the off stump. Compton going to late cut that, I think, sort of dab. It's a bit of a strange stroke, really, but it went through to the keeper Bates, who kept that pretty well. And there's no run, and Compton waits again, back just slightly raised as Briggs bowls again down the leg side. There's a fielder straight round the corner, sort of leg slip come fine leg or something of that nature, and they take a quick single. So Briggs again over the wicket, bowls, and that's a flatter one which Butler goes to work on the leg side, but miscues into his pad and it dribbles out, and is fielded by mid-wicket there, short mid-wicket, who trots in there once again, Simon Katic. So that's the end of the over, and the score goes on, if you're tuning in, to 74 for 3, Butler on 30, Compton on 28 now. Of course, we're on BBC Somerset 1566 medium wave, BBC Radio Bristol at 1548 medium wave, and also through the BBC Sport website if you look for cricket and the links at the different fixtures, and you'll find us.
We're going to get spin from both ends now, with Liam Dawson coming on from this old pavilion end, and Dawson has kind of usurped Briggs in the championship for me. He came through as a spinning all-rounder, kind of lost the ability to spin a little bit. That's come back a bit this season, and Briggs is the man who's paid the price for that. He's been out of the championship team for a few games now, with Dawson kind of doing that spinning role. So he's going to need to impress this afternoon to force his way back in and certainly try and out-bowl his colleague. Yes,
interesting match within a match, in a sense. You often get these wonderful little jousts that are all important.
Over the winter, they must have seen a fair bit of each other. That was a lovely inside-out shot, wasn't it? I mean, you've got two men on the boundary, one at long off, one at out at the covers. The man at extra cover is inside the circle. If you hit it over him, it's a pretty safe shot, and it was perfectly placed by Jos Buttler.
Beautifully timed, absolutely, as Briggs again, and that's a quicker one, which he goes back and late cuts beautifully. Beautifully done, past that fielder there, Carberry, who runs back in an attempt to kind of gully position, no slips, and he just eased it down there. Lovely old-fashioned stroke, lovely to see that shot again. And 4 runs, so Butler playing with some class now. That was a lovely shot.
Well, very quickly up to 40, I think showing a real maturity. He took his time, didn't attack straight from the off, but now he's out there facing spin, feeling confident. You just hope not too confident.
Very good point, yes, as Butler waits again. That's slightly quicker, forced away from middle and leg to that short mid-wicket position, but they don't. Setting high standards for himself, but he's done well in this over, so he needn't worry. But he's just gesturing to Compton about probably hoped he'd beat that fielder and get another couple of runs, but 'twas not to be, and Compton gets ready to face Dawson again, who quite a short chap. It's about 5'1" perhaps, quite short. Comes in 1, 2, 3, 4 steps and bowls, and that's outside the off stump. They think of a quick single. Compton trying to work it away past point, but is not successful, and there's no run. Got a chap round the corner, kind of leg slip, short fine leg, as that beats him and is whipped off the bails there. Beautifully done by the wicket-keeper, Bates, but a little bit of an appeal, but Compton well in his ground, no chance of a stumping there, but a nice effort just to let the batsman know he's there and alert to his task, as Dawson, just polishing the ball now, comes in again, hoping to impress here and bowls, and that's a nice ball on middle and leg, which is played with great respect and restraint by Compton, who played it down really nicely, and Nick Compton in the form of his life, of course. So as the sun goes in here, a bit overcast, he goes back and he cuts beautifully. That's a lovely shot, but it's straight to a fielder there who's in the deep cover point boundary, and they just take a quick single. Nice shot there.
Yeah, he just needs to play his game, doesn't he? He doesn't need to accelerate in 40 overs. I think he's found his niche. He knows he doesn't have to hit stupidly, unlike some of the other players who he's not really adept at that, is he?
Yeah, it's lovely to see, actually. I've seen him do it before, so it's really nice that he isn't. That's a lovely late cut again, beautiful stroke, and that's going to go for 4 runs. That's a lovely shot, goes into the boardings again. It's this lovely little dab, late cut, just brings the arc of the bat down on the ball just at that right moment. And no slip there, so why not? Lovely shot.
That was even better than the previous one. And Joss Buttler, when he's in this kind of mood, it's not all about the power, is it? I mean, he is some player.
Yes, it's really wonderful to see, actually, as he waits for Dawson, who that's a little bit more flighted, which he plays with respect down the pitch to the bowler, who throws it up with a little bit of disappointment, perhaps, to the wicketkeeper, and that's the end of the over. So interesting over that. Still a good one for Somerset, who go on to 95 for 3. The 100 coming up soon. 44 to Buttler, 35 to Compton. 18 overs remaining. The last wicket was on 25, so these two have really, well, they've gone from strength to strength. I always knew it was going to be a crucial partnership, and they've rescued Somerset thus far, as Briggs is in again and played from middle and leg by Compton really nicely.
And without taking chances as well, isn't it? That's what's impressive, and particularly for Buttler, who hasn't really had a score. He had that one up at Edgbaston in the Championship against Warwickshire. Other than that, he's had a bit of a season of it.
Briggs again, and he comes down the wicket, Compton, and goes to not hit it over the top, plays it straight down to Long On, who fumbles and throws it in, but there isn't an extra run as a result of the fumble, and they just take the single. Yes, Buttler, yes, occasionally see him get out to silly strokes, so it's good that he's being restrained, showing restraint here. And Compton similarly, if he plays his natural game, you know, he's a sure bet. Don't want to curse him, touch wood, but not played any uncharacteristic kind of yahoos or anything like that, or anything, any strange whip strokes or reverse laps. None of those. He's played very correctly as Buttler drives that strongly up to the extra cover fielder, and there's no run.
They're trying to get him playing against the spin, aren't they? And they've got a huge gap on the leg side. He can work a single anywhere he wants, but it's playing against the spin.
As he bowls again, and that's nicely whipped away for a quick single on the leg side. Out there to Long On, who runs across, and they come back from a very quick single, which gets a tremendous round of applause. That's almost the 100 up. I thought it was, but it isn't.
It's just a well taken second, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, it was that good.
Big open spaces and not fielded particularly well.
Buttler waits again as it's flighted on the off stump, nicely dabbed down by Buttler for no run to the point fielder. So yes, it's been entertaining the last half an hour. There's been some lovely strokes, these two playing with some freedom at some points, as that's again whipped away on the up to Long On, who dives across, and they're coming back for a quick second again, and they make it well. Yes, that ball was just motoring into the wicketkeeper Bates, and one thought for a second, is there going to be a chance of a run out? But no, the understanding is obviously that good between these two, and this sometimes happens between batsmen, where they just seem to have an unwritten rule book where everything is a mutual understanding, and that's happening at the moment for these two. So good for Somerset.
The 100 up with only 3 down, which at 25 for 3 looked a bit of a way off, but it's a measure of how well these two have played. 48 plays 36, with Buttler outscoring his batting partner. And we'll have Dawson continuing from this.
Thank you, Ed. Well, there's going to be excitement at the end of this innings, because Somerset have to push on. In the past, you would have said 200 at Taunton is a bare minimum here. They're still 52 shy of that. Sean Irvine's going to continue, caused Buttler a few problems. And it's Nick Compton who's facing 54 not out. Here comes Irvine up to the wicket now. That's on the leg stump, and it's shifted side of the wicket off his leg square, and Mascarenhas comes into field, and there's a single to Compton. 149 for 4.
There's been a wicket in the test match, incidentally. Stuart Broad caught Sammy Bowles Shillingford for 22 for 8 at the moment.
It's quite evenly poised, that game, isn't it? You think that West Indies...
Lead of 40 England at present.
They're always not that far away from a batting collapse, are they? As Irvine comes in once more, just short of a length, and that's caught Barrow. Tucked him up there. In fact, it signalled a leg by, but I don't think it did hit him on the legs. Maybe somewhere closer to the stomach, or dare I say it, the place where you really don't want the leather to be thrashing into you, but it's a single anyway to the scoreboard.
150 up, yeah.
Ripple of applause. Compton on strike. Maybe Compton is going to have to improvise, which isn't his natural game in order to find the boundary. Here comes Irvine once more. That's a pretty textbook off drive though. Goes straight to mid-off. They're not chancing a single at Dawson's end, he feels, and there's no run because they haven't hit a boundary for quite a while now.
Yeah, when I was last on air, we were making hay while the sun shone, and it was looking great from a Somerset perspective, but that wicket was really crucial. But Compton, the main man, is still there. These next few overs are going to be really crucial that we don't have a collapse.
Here comes Irvine once more. Compton plays it forward defensive. There's a no ball, and that is free hit territory.
Yes.
Just what the doctor ordered. Now let's see what Nick Compton does here.
Yes.
I'm not sure he appreciates being told that he has to thrash the ball, but that's what can happen here. Of course, he could be run out, so nothing daft here, but a free hit. Now the field is being spread by Jimmy Adams.
Hit it straight,
Compton eyes Irvine up. What's he going to bowl here? It's fallen, it's driven, it's gone straight to mid-off. They are going to run a single. Dawson shies at the stumps. I think Compton was in, but there was a good delivery in the end from Irvine, because it was Yorker length, half volley, and
well bowled, full.
It was straight to Dawson in the end, and just a single, so not really much of a profit from a free hit there. Of course, if you had someone like Butler, you'd back him to find the boundary in that scenario.
Too true.
Here's Irvine once more. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls again, this back of a length, and it's just turned around the corner.
So the batting power play is that's not been taken yet, I don't believe.
It hasn't been taken, and I was saying to Ed, I think it should have been. I think they were both set, Butler and
worst case
and
scenario,
Compton.
really, that Butler losing his wicket just before we were going to.
But still, it's
a lot better than it was looking at three down, though. So small mercies, I know, but
quite. Here's Irvine in once more, a bit fuller. And Barrow backing up, comes a long way down the pitch, only a prod from Nick Compton. So 1-5-4 for 4, 7 overs to go. You just get the impression that Somerset are going to need to put their foot on the accelerator a wee bit here. I think they will target 200.
Tim Robinson's just whirling his arms for some reason there and tapping his watch. Well, that's the batting power play. That's the bat and power play.
And it's come too late from Somerset's perspective.
Well, I mean, I guess at least Compton's there. You know, that's the good news. And we'll see. I mean, they're bringing a spinner on now in Briggs, which could help Somerset. You feel Compton might want to dominate and hit in and out over the top.
Well, he's only faced 6 balls, Barrow.
Yes.
And now he's being asked to drive Somerset's total towards 200. Briggs is back into the attack. Thank you for spotting that one, Ben. His figures so far today: 6 overs, no maidens, 0 for 30. So pretty round figures. 5 runs and over he's gone for. Great tussle between him and Joss Butler, the two young England pretenders, both been flirting with the international one-day side. I think you'd have to say that Butler slightly got the better of him, crashed him to the boundary on a couple of occasions.
Yes, it was very entertaining, actually. One of the best parts of the innings, really. But there's also a bit of sparring between Briggs and Dawson as well, in terms of, you know, who's going to be the main spinner.
Well, Briggs is going to operate from the old pavilion end, so he's changed ends here. 2 men, 3 men outside the circle are at long off, at deep mid-wicket as Briggs comes in. It's driven by Barrow. It's wide of long off. Is Irvine going to get there? Yes, he is. It's a diving stop. Had to run round and pick that up. And Barrow picks up a couple. And the other man in the deep is at deep cover. So square of the wicket is covered.
Sean Irvine.
Here's Briggs once more, and that was a slog sweep attempted by Barrow. There is a man out, as I mentioned, at deep mid-wicket. That's James Vinch, and Barrow is quick between the wickets. Not particularly tall, Alex Barrow, the man from Frome, but he's only 5'7", 5'8", I'd say, but clearly he's got a bit of pace about him. Compton looks tired, doesn't he, resting on his back there on the striker's end. The score, incidentally, has moved on to 158 for 4, and Barrow has moved on to 6. They're bringing the man in at cover point as Briggs comes in. Barrow gives himself room and just works it into the offside. Quick single taken. It was Katic coming into field, but he didn't throw into the keeper. That's good backing up by Nick Compton. He called that run. That's very good. We criticised him when his running and calling wasn't so great. Well, he deserves credit there. It was a good single stolen.
He's been pretty good today, really. He had a great understanding earlier on, and he's continuing it with the new batsman.
159 for 4 as Briggs twirls the ball. Left arm spinner. He's in now. Compton dances down the pitch and then just drives it to the man at long off. Irvine it is, coming in from the boundary's edge to field. Just a single on that occasion, and Compton is just struggling to find the boundary here.
It's interesting looking at the spinner operating.
Here goes Briggs, and he's bowled him. Barrow giving himself room, trying to cut it down late towards third man. Didn't get anything on it, ended up being a bit of a waft in the end. Briggs has his first wicket. Barrow goes, and that's the power of the power play. It forces batsmen to do things they wouldn't normally try. And Barrow has gone for 7. And Somerset now in a bit of bother. 160 for 5.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting from a Somerset point of view. It's very sad to have lost the man, but you know, I was just going to say actually that watching Briggs bowl will be very interesting from a Somerset perspective, simply because we've got George Dockrell coming on late, who's just fresh from getting 6 for 29 in a championship game last week, so he's in great form. And you know, it was interesting. Good delivery, good flatter, perhaps a little bit of a quicker one as well, and it just beat him in the air. Really, he was going back. It was too close to cut, and it was a really, well, as I say, just too close to cut. But it could be, as I say, looking at from a positive perspective, interesting for George Dockrell, who might be looking out there now and thinking perhaps he might get a few wickets when his turn comes around.
Well, it's the turn of Craig Overton, who strides out purposefully to bat. Is without his twin brother today, only Craig playing out of the two Overton twins.
Met his dad earlier, proud father he was. But yes, of course, last week they were rushing to the championship match, having taken an exam in the morning.
An A-level exam?
I think so, yes.
Really?
So it's extraordinary, really.
Funny life, isn't it? Well, he is only a teenager, 18-year-old, of course, Craig Overton. He's taking strike here in the early fledgling part of his career. He's a right-hand batsman, and this is his second list day match. He scored 5 in his last one as Briggs bowls to him. He turns it round the corner. He's off the mark first ball, gets a single. Short fine leg is where it's fielded, so he'll keep the strike. That is the end of the 34th over. It's 161 for 5. First over of the power play, and Somerset, having lost a wicket, I don't think you could say it was particularly successful.
No, it was too close to cut, and it was it's just one of those situations when you're in that situation really where you need to force the issue. It's a batting power play, perhaps wouldn't have played the stroke normally, and was just caught off balance, and it was curtains for him, unfortunately. But another change in the bowling, I think. We've got who's that coming on? I think is
it Mr. Wood? It certainly is. It's Chris Wood back into the attack, so he might finish off his allotted overs. He's bowled 5 already. No maidens, 1 for 26, and he's also changed end. He was operating from the old pavilion. He's running down the hill from the river end now, and he bowls to Craig Overton. He turns that off his hip. He's going to get a single. Will he try and get 2? No, it's fielded there by David Griffiths, who throws in, and 1 more to the score.
He was going at over 5 and over earlier on, Chris Woods, so it's fairly nippy, but you probably say is about 78, 80 miles an hour, not express, but he's quite tall, isn't he?
He is tall.
Which always helps.
Yeah. As Wood comes in once more, bowling to Compton, who tries to cut, but it's not there to do that. It was on a length, and he missed it. And fair play to the keeper, Matthew Bates, Michael Bates, who's standing up to Wood, who, as you say, isn't a slouch with the ball. Craig Overton, of course, fresh from his 50 against Durham last week.
Yeah, tremendous.
Which was, how should we say, a breath of fresh air innings, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. All that arrogance of youth.
Here comes Wood once more, and Compton's tucked up here, and he's gone into his shell a little bit here, Nick Compton. This is the second over of the power play. It's 162 for 5. They took it at 154 for 4. So, and they're yet to find the boundary with the field in. 3 men out in the deep at long on, long off, and at deep square leg. It's Mascarenhas I can see out there as Wood comes into bowl once more. It's driven firmly by Compton, but he won't beat the infield. There's 4 men on the offside, and it goes to the man at extra cover, which is the captain, Jimmy Adams, and it's only a single to the score. So maybe it's up to young Craig Overton, the 18-year-old Devonian, who's still got, I don't know, the history of fascist Italy in his mind. If he was doing a history A-level, maybe it was something to do with demographics, if it was geography. Either way, they're going to have a stop here. They can't sort out their field, Hampshire. There's a man running in from the deep. There's James Vince there, who's at deep third man.
I was going to say earlier on, when you were talking about all the bunting in the Colin Atkinson pavilion, there was a few bare torsos last week that turned red. You'd almost think it was a butcher's shop. It was not a pretty sight at
Fresh
times.
meat. Here is Wood to Overton, who won. It's just back of a length. He tried to do something a little bit dainty, guide it down to third man, missed it. Score remains the same, 163 for 5. England are 9 down in the Test match. 426 for 9 is the score there.
Well done them.
So
West Indies.
A lead of about 56 is the lead. So that's a pretty evenly matched game. Here comes Wood once more. Slower delivery, which is whipped away. Beats Griffiths, who's at short third man, and fine leg even, but he's chasing back and just pulling it in from the boundary's edge. Sliding dive, but not before. And a direct hit there, an appeal, but the umpire says not out. And that's 3 to Craig Overton. So
that was a tremendous throw.
It was a good throw, direct hit, but Compton was there. Still, Somerset can't find the boundary. They've 1 over of this batting power play left to go. It's 166 for 5 after 35 overs. Nick Compton has 58 and Craig Overton has 5.
Indeed, yeah, interesting about the Test match there. Yeah, we'll see how the West Indies order pans out. I mean, they're very young and they're learning. I mean, Powell looked good in the first innings and Barath in the last Test, so perhaps they'll come good. Who knows? I mean, there's been lots of talk about who's absent from their team, but we shall wait and see. I'm a keen lover of West Indies cricket past, so in a sense, I'd be happy to see them at least compete to the very end.
Briggs to continue from the old pavilion end. He's up to the wicket now, a bit short, a bit flatter, and a bit quicker. And Craig Overton instantly shouts 2, 2, 2 as he pushes that into the onside. A long run round for the man at long on, and he does indeed get back for 2. Must be such a millstone for a West Indian cricketer that they're not too recent past. The 70s, the 80s, the 90s, they're wonderful 90s, players. Yeah. As Briggs bowls again, this is chipped into the onside. It's going to bounce once, twice, and then into the arms of Vince, who throws in, and Overton picks up a single. 169 for 5.
Well, as I always say, I've got good friends out there. Often get correspondence from Justine Daniel, who writes to me often about the state of their cricket. It's all politics ruining it, I'm afraid.
Briggs is in. That one's a little bit shorter, and Compton works it into the onside for a single. 170 for 5. Still no boundary in this power play. Reminder, 154 for 4 when they took it. They're now 170 for 5. 3 balls left as Briggs bowls, and again it's worked into the onside by Overton. This is some wily bowling by Briggs. He's just varying his flight, his speeds. Some are turning a little bit, some are flatter and quicker, and the batsman are just happy at the moment to take the singles. 171 for 5. Here comes Briggs once more. One-legged sweep shot this time from Compton. He's beaten Michael Carberry at square leg, who's inside the circle. That is 4 runs. And
Beach Boys over the Tanner.
Well, it relieves a bit of the pressure on Compton because he was struggling to find the boundary, but I'm not sure the fielding was particularly clever from Michael Carberry on that occasion.
No, it wasn't.
Here's Briggs up to the wicket once more. Compton drives this time to mid-on. He's going to run hard for 1, but he won't try a second. In comes Dawson, who we were already seen as an excellent fielder. And thus ends.
Well, good job it isn't Les Dawson, because you were talking about mother-in-laws earlier on. I thought of the great late comedian there, but no, it's still evenly poised, I'd say, this game in a sense. I mean, coming into this match, Hampshire, of course, beat Scotland, beat Glamorgan by 48 runs. Championship win last week. Somerset championship win too, so feeling fairly happy from that. Had 2 difficult defeats, but we're playing strong teams. It's a difficult group B, really. It's a very strong group.
Here comes Wood. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls to Compton, who late cuts it, and Overton backing up steals a single, and 1 more goes to the total. 176 for 5. We're into the 37th over now.
I know there's been rumblings that Trago might not actually bowl, that he was playing as a batsman in this game. I don't know if that's the case. I should be interested to see what happens.
In which case
he's been very important this year.
A 5-man attack for Somerset. Gregory, Waller, Dockrell, Hussain playing first game of the season. As Wood bowls, that's on the leg side. Tried to turn it round the corner, did Overton, but didn't get much bat on that. No leg by signal. Rather ugly piece of cricket in the end. Compton backing up, called him through for a single, and Somerset inch closer towards 200, but at this rate, at 178 for 5, I don't fancy them to get there. They need more boundaries. Wood, the left armour, he's bowling round the wicket. He bowls, bit of improvisation from Compton there. He's beaten the field, down on 1 knee, lifts it over his shoulder into the vacant space backward of square. Is 4 runs. Well played, Nick Compton. 182 for 5, and he moves on to 69. And I can tell you that Butler, who came in before him and was out some overs ago in the 32nd over, got 71. I'll tell you that Compton hasn't really moved on at any great pace with his innings, but he's down the pitch now, driving to mid-off. An awkward bounce in front of Dawson meant that he couldn't gather that cleanly, and Compton will indeed run through for a single. Yes, his strike rate's on 66, so not anything that's
not amazing.
particularly amazing in one-day cricket.
Clever stroke there. I'm not always a fan of those improvised strokes, but he did play that particularly well, and he placed it immaculately.
Wood then turns, approaches the wicket now, past umpire Willie. It's short, and Overton can't get anything on that. He tried to hook it, but the bat was a good 3 inches below the ball.
It's a front foot hook almost, really. His weight was going in the wrong direction, I fancy, but yes, it's you feel it depends on how Somerset bowl, really. I think Dockrell will be a key man. We've got Jamal Hussain, who's come in with the view of next week's championship match coming up, of course.
Wood in once more. That's leg side, and it's clipped away. It's high, but it's going to bounce safe as Dimitri Mascarenhas misfields, allows Overton to come through for a second. I think he might have got there anyway. I'll give Dimitri the benefit of the doubt. He did bowl splendidly well earlier on in this innings.
Yes.
And that's the end of the 37th over. 3 more to go then here at the county ground. You're listening to BBC Radio Bristol, BBC Somerset together. The greatest of sporting friends. It's a beautiful afternoon in the county town of Taunton. Somerset having lost the toss and been put into bat by Hampshire. Taking a good decision from the away side thus far. 185 for 5 is the score, so 15 shy of 200. Somerset, I quipped earlier that they would be struggling to get there. The boundary in that over and the one previously will help, and an important spell now to finish off from young Griffiths, who bowled pretty decently earlier.
To begin with,
he's got a bit of pace about him as David Griffiths, but
didn't bowl so well later on.
No.
In his spell.
4 overs, 0 for 24, his figures so far this afternoon.
I'm wondering if Somerset might end up ruining, not picking Alphonso Thomas. We'll see. I mean, he did seem out of sorts at the championship game, mainly because of jet lag, but he didn't actually play in the IPL, I don't think, at all. Or if he did, it was only 1 or 2 games. So, yeah, I mean, he's should be fairly fresh, but interesting decision to rest him. More on that later, I guess.
Here is Griffiths then. Compton on strike. He's up to the wicket now. It's Yorker length, a good Yorker and well dug out, and a bit of luck from Nick Compton. Well, fortune favours the brave, but not on this occasion from Griffiths, because that was a good Yorker. It was fast and straight and full. Compton just squeezed his bat on it, inside edge, beat the despairing dive of the wicket keeper, Mr. Bates, and 4 more streaky runs to Compton. He moves on to 74. Somerset 189 for 5.
Yeah, good delivery that, and often goes that way for bowlers, as we know. It's you know, you can bowl a brilliant delivery. I mean, we saw Kemal Roach in the Test get a couple of wickets off no balls yesterday. You know, you can bowl a great delivery, but you don't always get what you deserve from it, and it's a pretty good ball, that.
Griffiths, what can he do in reply? He's up to the wicket now. He bowls. It's a full toss, and it's driven by Compton. Won't cash in. It's gone straight to the man.
Deary me.
At cover point on the boundary, and they're the sort of deliveries that you need to cash in at this stage, Benjamin.
Taking the words out of my mouth there. It's easy from up here, though, I guess.
It's, of course it is. Well, actually, you know, it's not even that easy from up here, right?
It's totally easy. Not just easy, it's amazingly easy.
Griffiths from the old pavilion end turns and runs away from us. He's up to the wicket now. It's a short ball, and again, it's not dealt with by Compton. He hasn't got all of the bat on that. It's a long chase round the boundary. They're going to turn and come back for
No, he's all right.
Third. And he is all right. And a warm round of applause.
No third umpire DRS on the big screen. It looks like a big screen, but we haven't got that here today, unfortunately. But yeah, that was, looked for a second like it might be close, but he actually ran that extremely well. And Tim Robinson, the old pro, both these umpires, fascinating cricketing history, of course. Both played Test cricket for England, and actually met Tim Robinson when I was a child, actually.
Nice man.
Very well. I can't remember. I got his autograph. I think it was very small at the time, but very interesting. Peter Willey, of course, played in that legendary 81 side.
Here comes Griffiths up to the wicket now. Another attempted Yorker. Again, it's a full toss, but Compton won't beat the man at long on. Dawson running into field. Another single added to the score. 194 for 5. What can Craig Overton do here?
Yeah, wow.
He's got the ability to find the boundary rope. He's eyeing it up.
Yeah,
there's a man in the deep square leg. Long on is out there as well, and a man at cover point on the boundary. Also a man at fine leg. In fact, Jimmy Adams just manoeuvring his fielder. He's tempting him here to go over the top, over extra cover, and putting another man out on the onside at sort of cow corner. Griffiths, short will it be? No, it's full. It's well bowled. And Overton, who did start to charge down the pitch, yorked himself in the end. That was going down the leg side, and sometimes the batsmen move around at this stage trying to get themselves some space, but bowlers often respond to that and throw it down the leg side, don't they?
Well, I can see that it reminds me a little bit of Chris Silverwood of Yorkshire, or Craig White, of course, who must be involved with him quite a bit, and that was a typical sort of leg side Yorker kind of ball that he would have bowled.
Here comes Griffiths. That's another Yorker length, but it's thrashed, but unfortunately Overton doesn't get much bat on that. It's a bit bottom edgy, and it just squirts past the bowler. Single to end the over. I think a moral victory for Griffiths there. 195 for 5 is the score. 10 off it. We have 2 more overs to go as Somerset approach 200. Compton still there on 76.
I'm glad the weather's okay. That's the main thing.
Exactly.
There's some worrying forecasts coming into this match about this afternoon, but it seems fine at the minute.
Craig White to bowl around 90 miles an hour from not much of a run up. It was all in the action and the shoulders,
Hustle and
wasn't
bustle.
it? For Craig White.
It's like Tino Best. He's just an incredibly quick bowler. I hope
what, 6'6". It went over his head, so it just goes to show that
Wow,
he got his length a little bit awry on that occasion, Ben.
Balloon bounce, truly, tennis ball bounce. That was, let's see, what could he have done with that? He could have done a Gilchrist style backward punt where first slip would be, but it's probably worked out well.
I don't think there are many players that can play that.
No, not easy.
Here's Wood once more. Round the corner it goes from Overton. Good piece of improvisation. He shuffled across, exposed all 3 wickets, and then just lifted the ball round the corner. It went fine. Griffiths couldn't cut that off. And 4 more to the Somerset score. And that is the 200 up in the 39th over. 201 for 5.
Yeah, well, as you've rightly said, Somerset not exactly on top. You wouldn't say it was evenly poised, but it could be worse. And certainly it depends, as I said earlier, very much on how Somerset bowl and how these last few overs go as well.
Wood in once more. Fuller driven by Overton. Got a good bit of bat on that, but it's also well fielded by Jimmy Adams, who was fielding it. Orthodox extra cover there. He ran round and cut that off before it allowed Overton to scamper back for a second, although there was a man out on the long off boundary, as there is for Nick Compton. 3rd ball of this 39th over. In comes Wood. He's up to the wicket now. Compton thrashes at it, gets that beyond the infield, and that'll go for 4. Dissects the man at cover and extra cover. Good shot from Nick Compton. 206 for 5 the score now. Boundaries coming a bit more frequently. Welcome boundaries as well for Somerset, and giving them something, just something to bowl at.
Well, there he goes again. You know, it's a classic stroke of his, one of his trademark shots, really.
Wood up to the wicket once more. Attempted reverse sweep. There's going to be a run out here. Overton backing up, charged down the wicket.
Oh dear.
And Compton sent him back.
Yeah.
And Overton doesn't look particularly happy. Compton has managed to run someone out in the end. We thought he might do. I have to say, that was down the leg side. Yes, Compton was trying a reverse sweep. Was it not a wide? Something for you to ponder.
Well, it was a very peculiar stroke. And once again, you know, Compton, well, I always say he's such a wonderfully correct player and naturally has a wonderfully correct technique. But I always get a little bit sad when I see these rather contrived sort of dink strokes and things that look dreadfully ugly, but they can be effective. But on that occasion, it would have been better if I think he played it more conventionally, because what happened was the ball kind of plonked out on what was the offside, but nearly the leg side. You weren't quite sure what, because he reversed, tried to dink it, and in the end it was a complete hash up there between the 2 batsmen, and it really was miles out in the end. So a bit of a shame that for the youngster, but that's the game for you. But Compton, well, even more again, you know, at least he's still there from a Somerset perspective, and we'll see how this next over pans out. This could be a crucial one. Well, it is really. Don't want to lose any more wickets, really. Just keep the score going over.
So Craig Overton departs, run out for 20 in the end, and it brings Lewis Gregory to the crease.
Interesting selection again.
It is interesting. Hasn't had the greatest times with the bat, hasn't played a great deal this season. Anyway, it's Compton on strike. Wood bowls to him, turned into the leg side. Plenty of room there for a single. Gregory wants 2, but he's sent back by Compton very defiantly on this occasion. And just a single to end the over. The penultimate over coming up. Oh no, of course there was a no ball, wasn't there? So
indeed. Well,
coming back.
He's had a poor second 11 season, but this is actually his most successful format, 40 over, in terms of his record so far. So perhaps that's the thinking behind picking Gregory.
Well, he's facing his first ball to the left arm, Chris Wood. He's round the wicket. Gregory just prods it into the offside. They'll steal the single, shy at the stumps, a direct hit. Would have seen the back of Lewis Gregory, and it was James Vince running away to his right-hand side. A good effort, a pick up and throw, all in one action. Gregory wouldn't have got there, but it missed, and that is called a reprieve for Gregory. Penultimate over then completed. With 39 down, 208 is the score. Gregory's there on 1 not out. Compton defiant to the very end. 81 not out. Nick Compton. His strike rate, I think, is still around the 70 mark, so he hasn't set the world alight. No fireworks, but I suppose in the context of the wickets tumbling around him. Remember, Somerset 25 for 3 at one occasion in the 7th over. I think it was an innings that was necessary. Anyway, it's Gregory who's going to face, and it's David Griffiths who's going to bowl the final over.
Well, yeah, looking back on it, it makes that even more important, that stand that he had, of course, with Joss Butler, who played really well until that run out, which was so unfortunate. Worst way to go, really, particularly when he got to 71.
Griffiths then, right arm over the wicket, bowls to Gregory, who's lofted it straight to Irvine at mid-off. The easiest of catches, didn't get hold of that at all. Trying to hit it over the top, Gregory, but not succeeding in any way. 7th wicket down then for Somerset. Gregory, he goes for 1. Bowled Griffiths, and the most simplest of breadbasket catches for Sean Irvine.
Yes, it couldn't have been easier, really. I mean, that was a little bit of, well, it doesn't want to be overcritical, really, of that. That seemed a bit brainless, but this is the game, you know. It's tough, you know, and sometimes he'll be kicking himself walking back to the pavilion. It was hit straight to the fielder, straight down his throat, and he took it easy as you like, almost like catching practice, really. But Max Waller now comes out. Let's see what he can do. Give it a good old biff as a low order batsman. And interesting stage now that, again, you know, we've done what we didn't want to do, which is lose wickets at the end, which, of course, means you don't get the runs that you'd hope for either. So Hampshire, on the other hand, bowling really well, a really professional performance. They must have, well, it was a very confident decision to decide to bowl, but that's not surprising given their record in the competition thus far. And Somerset batting might have thought, well, we don't mind, it's nice and sunny, but it hasn't quite gone according to plan.
208 for 7 the score then. Young Max Waller, 24-year-old, big Arsenal fan. He's facing Griffith's second delivery of the over. It's full again, and Waller drives. It'll be fielded at long on. Picked up there by the captain, Jimmy Adams, who keeps the ball in his hands, wearing one of those Under Armour tops, one of those tight tops that only sportsmen can get away with. You or I wore a top like that, Ben, and it exposed all manner of unsightly bodily skin that no one wants to see the outline of. But for sportsmen with their buff tone techniques, well, they don't need to worry about it. Single to the score, 209 for 7 as Griffiths bowls, and it's a big hit here from Compton. Has he cleared the man? He hasn't. Adams takes the catch on the boundary, and that's the end of Compton's innings. He had to go for it. Last over, caution to the wind. Adams took the straightforward of catches at the long on boundary. Compton has gone for 81. Very well-rounded innings in the end from young Nick Compton. Perhaps not at an express pace. 105 balls it took him. Strike rate of 77, 6 fours. But as I say, very much the anchor role, the glue that stuck this wobbly innings together.
Well, indeed, it was a fine innings, a good knock from Compton. He raises his bat now to the crowd as they clap in great appreciation. There was some lovely correct strokes, apart from that one toward the end with the run out. But he generally played within the V. He played within himself at times. He kept his head down, and he was an important rock in the innings, which might be crucial later on if this match does get close. At the moment, you'd say Hampshire were on top, but it all depends how they bat, of course, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, good innings from Compton and well played, particularly in the circumstances. So, you know, he did do a good job, and well done him for that. He got 6 fours in that innings, strike weight of 76.5, so no sixes. Not really that many fours, so kind of tells a story, I guess, but a good 81 nevertheless.
Well, George Dockrell is the new batsman, but he's not on strike. Max Waller is for the time being. And Griffiths is looking for his 3rd wicket in the over, with only his 4th delivery. He's in now. Again, it's full, and it just beats the bat. There's going to be a run out here. calamity cricket at the other end. Dockrell, what was he doing?
Oh,
daydreaming there, still thinking about the 6 wickets he took the other day. Either that or Ireland's 1-0 victory in the friendly last night. Either way, he wasn't thinking about running to the other end. He was miles away. Griffiths does get another wicket. He can take that. It was him that tidied up, whipped off the bails. Somerset's inning is ending with a complete whimper. 209 for 9.
It's comedy cricket now, I'm afraid. Whenever you see these run-outs, you have to laugh, really. It's a great shame, you know. It's very easy when, at the end of an innings, you know that it's almost like a sinking ship. You feel, in terms of the context of an innings, it's where you've got to go for everything, you've got to run. It's very easy to panic, and that's why these run-outs do happen. And, of course, if the fielding side's been dominating like Hampshire have, they swoop in like hawks and do it very efficiently, and they have. They haven't let Somerset off the hook. They've been like a dog on a trouser leg. They've been unrelenting really in bowling good spots and dominating. So yeah, well played Hampshire, but so far. But again, let's see how Somerset bowl. We'll see how the match pans out in the long run. But yeah, good thinking from Hampshire with these run-outs, and yeah, a little bit of unfortunate comedy stuff here at the end where they're panicking a little, the tail enders. But it's understandable. The top order didn't perhaps get what they should have, but it's not their fault. It's not their forte after all, their bowlers.
Well, at the start of this over, it was 208 for 6. It's now 209 for 9. Griffiths bowling to Hussain, who's the new man. Again, it's full and straight. Hussain is going to get runs here. Just managed to prod his bat down on that, and he's going to get a couple, and Somerset will move on to 211. I don't think I've ever seen Jamal Hussain bat, Ben. Does that make me something of a heathen?
Not at all.
Something of an amateur, of a part-timer, a fair weather Somerset fan? Who knows?
No, not at all. I mean, let's face it, we've had a lot of injuries this season. We've been prodigious in our injuries, almost as badly as, well, a bit like the West Indies with their problems. We've had a lot of injuries.
Final ball of the innings then, and Hussain thrashes this one away. Not quite sure where that's gone.
It's plugged it. They've got nicked a quick single.
Well, there you go.
He didn't actually hit that anywhere. It was round his feet, actually. But it turned out all right. They took a very quick single. So
I'm glad you saw what happened. A swish of the bat, no movement of the ball. Somerset's innings comes to an end. Well, really, in the manner with which much of it was played, to be perfectly frank. An air of desperation about it. They've scraped, I think we can safely say and fairly say, to 212 for 9 of their 40 overs. They lost 3 early wickets, and they've got it all to do. Jamal Hussain back into the side today. Well, a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. There's no Alphonso Thomas.
No Steve Kirby,
no Steve Kirby either. We're going to have a wee break here. I'll leave you in the capable hands of Mr. Ben Manning, and then Ed Hadwin will be back in the potting shed for a few words.
Lovely. Well, interesting passage of play that was. Very dramatic, always entertaining, which the big crowd here will appreciate. It's very well attended. It's a lovely, idyllic Sunday in Taunton. The apartments to our left, the modern ones, a lot of people sitting up at the top there, been watching the day's play so far, and good crowd here, and it's been entertaining. Compton was fun to watch. Butler hit some industrious strokes. Mascarenhas, wonderful really. 8 overs, 1 maiden, 2 for 17. In fact, to go through the bowling figures for you, Chris Wood bowled 8 overs, 1 for 52, but went at 6.5. But Danny Briggs bowled well, 2 for 36, but again, 147 in his 8 overs. But again, quite expensive, I suppose, at nearly 6 and over. But they bowled well, and it was overall a professional performance, really, wasn't it, Ed?
Yeah, I'm looking down those figures, and we will go through them in absolute detail in a moment. But it's Mascarenhas that stands out to me. An economy rate, obviously, 2 for 17 from his 8 overs, an economy rate of just over 2 and over. Everybody else's economy rate 6.5, 6, just under 6, 5, 4.5, and 6 again. Yeah. You take that out, you put what you would consider to be the average for the team up against that, and all of a sudden you're looking at a score of 235, something like that, somewhere in that ballpark, which I think would be parish to me. I mean, you know, it doesn't look the most belting of tracks. Certainly a couple of those early Mascarenas balls did something. What Somerset are going to have to do is Hampshire in reverse, really. They're going to have a couple of these bowlers stand up and have that kind of performance and have nobody have a complete meltdown. Otherwise, it's going to be a long old afternoon. Let's just do the scorecard as it came through. Well, the first wicket went down for just 10 runs on the board. Craig Keyswetter playing down the other wrong line of one. I think it nipped back from Mascarenas. The off stump certainly went back. It cannoned into the floor. And he was out 4 runs from 8 balls from him, followed fairly quickly by Pete Trigo, almost the identical dismissal of anything. I think this one jagged back a little bit more, but Trigo just playing completely down the wrong line of the ball going through the gate, and he was out for a score of just 8. So 22 for 2 at that point, quickly followed by James Hildreth. Not a captain's shot, this one, I'm afraid. A cross-batted attempt to pull a short pitch delivery from Wood, and he just went straight up into the air, didn't it, Ben?
Well, again, all 3 of those dismissals, rather strange strokes. I mean, Compton again has played so superbly, but when you look back at the innings, those strokes at the beginning really are the key, because Keyswetter, a strange sort of swipe across the line. He often will play with his head in the air a little bit, which is a bit of a coach's nightmare, but however, he's done all right on it. Look how far he's got in his career, superb. But that was a bit of an odd stroke. Trago similarly, perhaps playing as a batsman today, not sure, have to wait and see. And Hildreth, well, unusual shot to put it lightly, just spooned it high in the air. So yes, those 3, you wouldn't say that they were got out by the bowler necessarily, though he was bowling very tightly, perhaps caused the frustration, i.e. the stroke, in the end synopsis. So good bowling from Mascarenas, but bad shot choices, really.
Absolutely. So at 25 for 3, things were looking pretty bleak for some. Then came the big partnership in his before finally. Excuse me, I was all trying to sneeze then, but finally, just really running himself out. He took a single that I won't say it was never on, but certainly the direct hit was always going to be very, very close, and it was a fantastic bit of play from Liam Dawson to take the stumps out. He did exactly that, and he was eventually run out for 71 from 81 balls. That's a strike rate of 87, and that moved the score on to 146 for 4. So recovery of sorts. Alex Barrow came in, scored a few quick runs, but nothing massively impressive. He was dismissed for just 7, bowled by Danny Briggs. He was trying to go back to one. Briggs got it to spin. It just clipped the top off. Classic spinner's delivery. And then a really good partnership again. It was somewhat short-lived between Craig Overton and Nick Compton, and I'm afraid we mentioned Nick Compton's running between the wickets. I mean, it was just no run out is ever going to look good, but the run was there to be had. Craig Overton was basically down at the end that Nick Compton hadn't budged from, and once Compton decided he wasn't going to move, that was it. Overton was going to be out. But 20 runs from just 16 balls. And he is the all-rounder of the 2, as we've kept being told. And you know, today there were a couple of he tried to overhit a couple of shots, but 2 very nice shots resulting in well, one particular a boundary just off a little flick to leg side. So again, a good sight of the potential there, and I'm afraid that kind of heralded a bit of a collapse. Lewis Gregory came in, slapped his second ball straight to mid-off. That was him dismissed with, and then it was Nick Compton. I thought it was going to be a 6. It must have been a very good catch by Jimmy Adams, right on the boundary.
One of the longest boundaries.
We can't see it, so we'll have to take everybody's word that it was a good catch. But it looked like it had the legs to make it for a 6. So right on the edge of the playing area, and then the final couple of balls just seen out by Max Waller and Jamal Hussain, both 1 not out. Overton made 20. Dockrell run out by Griffiths. He was not troubling the scorers. Again, a poor bit of play between him and Max Waller. And 212 for 9. I mean, there's no doubt about it, Ben. It's under par, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you look at it, the other scores other than, I mean, really it was a two-man innings. You've got Butler and Compton 81-71, you know, otherwise you're looking at 4, 8, 3, 7, 1, 1, 0. It sounds like a telephone number, hello, you know. It really is sad there from that perspective. And 3 run-outs, I mean, you can't afford to do that.
And 2 of them were their fault, weren't they? And one of them was a fantastic, the most frustrating was obviously losing Joss Butler, but that was just a fantastic fielding. The other 2 were just, it was poor running, wasn't it?
Well, that was Hampshire's key moment, really. I mean, we were just running away with it. We were just coming up to the power play, batting power play. That was the crucial moment. If Hampshire do go on to win this game, I think that run out, apart from Mascarenhas' brilliant bowling, really containing good, accurate bowling, that would be the key moment. That run out, I think, of Butler by Dawson. So. Yes, it's just, you look back on these important moments, but that really will be, I think, the key one in hindsight. I think at the end, I've got to look at the positives from the Somerset perspective. Well played, Butler, well played, Compton. But not what Somerset would have hoped for. 5.5, well, 5.30 and over only in a 40-over game, where usually we're very, very good getting to finals such a lot in recent years. Of course, Trescothick leaves a massive hole at the top of the order. Surprised Harold Sapire not picked today. What's your view on that?
Well, I think they're trying to rotate people. I know, you don't want to say they've given up hope just yet, but realistically, if they were massively serious about this game, unless it's an injury that he's picked up that we don't know about, you would think Alfonso Thomas has to play. You know, he plays in the IPL. He is one of the best one-day bowlers in the world. And he's sat down because, quite frankly, having lost the first 2 games in this competition in a very, very tough group, it's going to take some phenomenal cricket to get back into it all. Not that Somerset aren't capable of it, but we know the Holy Grail is the championship. For my money, he's been rested, and frankly, he probably needs the rest, having only flown back from India on Monday, to make sure that he's fresh for what you would think on the face of it. Every single time you speak to any Somerset player, it's always the championship, the championship, the championship. And I think he's been rested to make sure that he's available to come to play on Wednesday up at New Road at Worcestershire. The bowling, just quickly looking at Hampshire. Well, Mascarenhas, unsurprisingly, the pick of them, 2 for 17 from his 8. The only other bowler to bowl the full 8 overs was Danny Briggs, 1 for 47, so fairly expensive from him. 1 for 47 from 7 from Chris Wood, so even more expensive there. 2 for 36 from 6 from David Griffiths. Liam Dawson, 0 for 32 off 7, so a little bit more economical. And Sean Irvin, 0 for 23 from 4. So good, solid figures apart from Mascarenhas being absolutely spectacular. Quickly in the Test, England all out 428, so that's a lead of 58 in total. Tim Bresnan 39 not out at the end, just in case you missed it earlier. Captain Andrew Strauss got on to 141 before being dismissed. 25 from Stuart Broad, useful lower innings runs. 16 from Matt Fryer. Johnny Bairstow managed just 4. Ian Bell 22 earlier in the day, and Kevin Peterson bowled Robin Rampall for 80. So 428 all out. So a useful lead without being match winning. As for the bowlers, 2 for Roach, 3 for Rampall, 2 for Darren Sammy, 1 for Shane Shillingford, and 2 for Marlon Samuels, adding to his century in that innings. That's what's going on.
Looked like he pulled it back because he was quite expensive yesterday, but his economy rates ended up pretty good there, so he must have bowled well today.
They've certainly improved on what was a pretty poor performance yesterday. As for the other domestic matches being played today, well, I can tell you in the championship, and this one, you have to wonder whether we're going to be in for a result or not. Sussex 99 for 4 in their second innings against Nottinghamshire, who were eventually dismissed for 428. So Sussex still 20 runs behind with 6 wickets remaining. We'll do with them scoring a fair few more, because obviously Nottinghamshire up at the top of the championship alongside Warwickshire and Somerset at the moment. And as for the CV40, well, plenty going on there. Scotland 226 for 3 in the 37th over against Durham. Excuse me, it's just updated. 233 for 3 now in the 38th over. Northants against Warwickshire. Northants 148 all out after 36.2 overs. That's not a great return from them. It's not really a a fair match, you would suggest, as Northamptonshire not quite in the class of Warwickshire at the moment. The pick of the bowlers there, Jeetan Patel, the New Zealand international spinner, 4 for 27. Barker took 3 for 27, 1 each for Wokes and Wright, their opening new ball pair. Elsewhere in the 40-over competition, to just bring you up to date with, we've got the Unicorns against the Yorkshire Unicorns at 184 for 9, with just 5 balls left of that innings. And Worcestershire, of course, are up next for Somerset in the county championship, made 235 for 5 in their 40 overs against Middlesex. And the main damage there done by a certain Mr. Hughes, 111.
Really?
For him, he couldn't get couldn't buy a run when the internationals were here. But maybe the man with a slightly unorthodox technique coming back. 111 runs from 124 balls. Mitchell got 48.
Well, thank you, Ed. Yes, it's been an inauspicious start from the Sidemen. Jamal Hussain last over went for 14, but it hasn't stopped them from taking their bowling power play, and probably the right decision. But I fancy they're also making a bowling change here, because you can't afford to go for 14 at this stage when Hampshire only require 5 runs and over. Should say he's only just back from a lengthy layoff, Hussain. He's never really been given a run in this Somerset side. He's been playing for the twos, so it's Craig Overton into the attack. Tall, rangy, lanky. What can he provide here? Hampshire made the perfect start, 44 without loss, but they've done so without taking any risks, Ben. They've just put away bad balls.
Indeed, yes. It's been not a great start for Somerset. They've not really bowled as one would have hoped. There's been a chance, of course, that sharp chance to Compton, but that would have been a key wicket, actually.
Here goes Overton then. First ball driven absolutely splendidly by Carberry. Just leant into that one, played it late, played it with his stride, right in line. We'll forgive Overton for bowling a loose net first up, but that's a really smart piece of batting. Good to see from Carberry.
Yes, I mean, that was welcome to the bowling attack. You know, it's a throw it up outside off stump, easy as you like. I mean, that was buffet bowling there, really.
Overton in once more. Again, it's full, but this time it's more of a wild thrash, maybe a little bit of movement. It was wider. Carberry went after it, he didn't get it, and it went through to Keysvetter, and there's no run.
Well, that's a sign of encouragement for the bowler. I mean, it's a good area to bowl, but obviously that first one wasn't quite right, but that was better, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's a crucial, really a crucial stage now.
Overton in once more. Carberry takes a stride down the pitch and then tries to hoik it over mid-off, who was up. He edged it, it bounced once and then went down to third man, where Hussain does the fielding, and in rather a disconsolate manner, I have to say. Threw that in and like he was in a bit of a huff. Jamal Hussain. He has just been taken off, of course, after bowling just a couple of overs, 4 overs in fact, but he went for 24 and
one of those days, I'm afraid, when you're a fast bowler, and it's very hard on the body, particularly if you're long-limbed, and it is pretty warm out there. It's a warm evening. Thankfully the rain has stayed away. It's looking lovely, actually. It looks a picture of the ground.
Overton, flashes of day-glow orange on his boots, comes into bowl. Again, he's tossed it up wide outside off stump. Adams needs no second invitation, but doesn't catch it. But both Carberry and Adams looking to drive Craig Overton. He's serving them up some tempters outside off stump, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting length to bowl, because you can entice a mistake. There's a point fielder there. Perhaps he's looking to get a miscued drive.
Here he is again, and that is a miscued shot, not a drive. Attempted late cut, but it was a waft. You see shots like that, and we saw Compton play them. No foot movement, just waiting for the ball to pass the bat, and then hanging it out there and wafting. It does look ugly. No contact made on this occasion.
Well, nothing stroke, really.
Run. Yeah.
Not forward, not back. But you see it a lot. It's one of those strokes that always seems puzzling when you see batsmen play them. But
here comes Overton to finish off. Adams down the pitch, and he smashed him back over his head, over Max Waller at mid-off. 1 bounce 4. And 2 boundaries conceded in that over from Craig Overton. He hasn't provided the tonic that Somerset needed, or do in fact still need. 53 without loss, Hampshire are in the 9th over, and just by comparison at this stage, Somerset were 32 for 3.
Indeed. Well, I mean, when you look at a start like this, it does seem that almost the wheels are coming off, because you wonder the team aren't sort of being positive enough. They're not pushing for a breakthrough, it seems. But it was funny, the county championship game started like that. Somerset were quite insipid in the field on the first morning, and yet they came back to win that. But obviously longer form of the game.
I was going to say they don't have a spare session to go, do they?
Unfortunate. But yes, perhaps they're still in 4-day mode. I don't know, but it's not looking too good at the moment. Trago toiling away here. He's had such a lot of work to do this summer. He's took on a completely unaccustomed role as well.
Here he comes, Trago, from the river end, bowling to Carberry. Bit of an outside edge on that forward defensive shot, and it squirms away to Overton. And third man here, and there's a single to the score. 54 without loss in the 10th over. There's a mid-on, a mid-off. Orthodox mid-on and mid-off inside the circle. Cover point. And an extra cover and a short mid-wicket. And also a short fine leg as Trigo bowls. That has gone past short fine leg, and it's turned around the corner for 4. It was short, it was straight, and Adams has looked very comfortable at the crease so far this innings. Has put that away with considerable aplomb. 58 without loss. Adams moves serenely onto 33. It's been effortless from Jimmy Adams. He's just put away the bad ball, as that was from Trigo. And Hampshire move gaily forward. Here comes Trigo up to the wicket once more. Slower delivery, smashed by Adams, down on one knee. Cow corner, watch out.
It's hit somebody, I think.
Well, in fact, it has almost hit somebody over at the old...
chap in a white shirt there that ducks, and I think it's gone into a car, actually. It was a fantastic stroke. There's a security man just going over there and making sure the chap's all right, and the car's got a bit of a dent in it now by the team, Hampshire's team bus.
Well,
so if you're the owner of that car, bad luck.
6 for Jimmy Adams, and the irony is they might be getting on that bus sooner rather than later if they continue like this. Trigo in again, Adams up on his haunches. It was a quicker delivery, a stifled appeal from Keyswetter, but 10 from the over already. And I mean, it's, you know, Somerset inexperienced and injury concerns and the rest of it. But really, 212. It doesn't look like a score that Hampshire at this rate are going to have any trouble getting, as Trigo is in once more. He bowls again. This is turned around the corner, timed, and there's a chase on for Max Waller and Lewis Gregory. The two of them together do the double teaming, but not before another 3 runs are scored. 68 without loss is the score now, and final ball still to come of this 10th over, but they're well ahead of the run rate. They haven't lost a wicket. And Somerset, well, I'm thinking you need to spin it to win it.
Yes,
Georgie Boy and Max, the onus is on you.
Indeed, yeah, George Dockrell, he's a key man, as I said earlier.
Trigo, right on round the wicket, bowls again, it's too straight, again it's turned around the corner. He's getting frustrated here, Pete Trigo. Maybe just starting to tire. Had a week of county championship cricket. He's bowled a lot of overs, more overs than he'd be used to at this stage of the season.
Well, opening the bowling.
Yeah, he's also carrying a bit of a knock, we understand, as well. Anyway, there's the end of the 10th over. Hampshire 69 without loss. They're going at 6.9 and over. They need to go at 5.3 runs and over to match Somerset's 212. So they're going to get there with about 8 overs or so to spare at this rate.
Indeed. Well, Overton's coming on again. Of course, took 6 for 87 quite recently in that championship game, but he had a very mixed over last over, so he's got the keeper Keyswetter standing up now, which is an interesting move.
Here is Overton up to the wicket now. He bowls. Adams drives. It was in the air, but it found the gap between cover point and mid-off. In fact, the man deep on the boundary at deep cover, Lewis Gregory, had to come in and field. But for a moment there, it looked like it could be dicey for Jimmy Adams. But well, he's probably earned a little bit of luck in the way that he's played so far. Single to the score, 70 without loss. Here's Overton in again, thrashed by Carberry. You might have heard
hear that one.
The deep resonance of the ball thrashing the bat. I do love it when you hear that sound.
Yeah.
It's
leather on willow.
It stinks of summer, doesn't it? But
it does.
Unfortunately for the Somerset faithful, they've all got a bit quiet. The Somerset stand shrouded in shade now. The early afternoon sun beats down and Overton's in, and Adams driving, but not in the way and the direction he wanted it to. It's going offside, but inside edged, and it was fielded by Pete Trigo, who's there at mid-wicket, and he threw the ball in a pretty disdainful manner as well. I'm not sure Pete Trigo's mood is the brightest at this stage.
Well, when you think Hampshire beat Glamorgan by 48 runs, they beat Scotland by 89 runs, they've had very, big margins in their wins.
This is short from Overton, pulled away. A chase out on the boundary for Butler, who does really well. Pick up and throw all in one movement. That's a classy piece of fielding. Just the single for Adams. Gets a warm round of applause. Yes, you have to say that Hampshire's opening two games are infinitely more likeable to their liking than Somerset's away at Surrey and Durham respectively. Having said that, there's a mismatch here as Overton bowls to Carberry. That's leg stump, and it's turned round the corner by Michael Carberry. A fine player, been on the county scene for many years. Another player who's flirted with the England squad, as has Jimmy Adams.
Hit a century, didn't he, against Bangladesh?
He did.
That was a good innings. I mean, I know it's only you can say about Bangladesh, but he still did the job.
I think he scored a 300 last summer for Hampshire as well.
Interesting story about his life as well, with health problems.
Yeah, quite. As Overton bowls short, it's cut and Compton Fields, who looks much better now after he's had some spray on his hand. That's the cue for me to take my leave. 11 overs gone, Hampshire well in control at 73 without loss. From the potting shed here on the county ground, a word from Ben Manning, then it'll be my dear chum Ed Hadwin.
Yes, again a mixed over again there, mixed bag generally from Somerset. As we've dwelled on, the two teams do seem mismatched. Somerset losing to Durham by 14 runs recently, and also to Surrey at the Oval by 105 runs, which was a big margin. But we shall see it. It does at the moment look all in Hampshire's favour. As Trigo bowls, and Carberry smacks that up to mid-off, a very quick single, and which he actually jogged through. I said very quickly, but he just seems naturally to move off the go button very quickly. He seems to anticipate runs really well. Carberry is a lovely left-hander, actually, quite enjoyable to watch. Hit some big blows he does, as Trigo bowls to Adams on the off stump, who again goes back and plays that up to mid-off. There's a mid-off, a mid-on, there's a mid-wicket, there's a fine leg, there's a square leg man on the boundary, and there's a sort of gully, sort of point fielder there. Yes, point would be the description. An extra cover and a mid-off, as I say, in that offside, as Trigo comes in again and bowls to Adams, who clips that away on the leg side. I think that's going to be 4 runs. In fact, it is. It goes into the boundary boards as I speak. Lovely shot, that. Just easy as you like, sort of hit it off his legs there and down to the boundary for 4 runs.
And I'm afraid that Somerset have rather lost their mojo in this form of the game. I mean, the slapping around by Surrey in the first game. I won't say they were unlucky against Durham, but they had the chance to win that one. And here today, a below par batting performance from most of the lineup, and I'm afraid the bowling is distinctly lacklustre as well.
Overworked, you could say, in the case of Trigo, as he comes in again past umpire William. That's lifted, and it's lifted decisively into the crowd for 6. It's a lovely shot, on driven with some majestic power there, really. Lovely on drive there from Adams, who raises his bat. That's a very, very quick 50. He's 52 now. Carberry on 30, and the score is already 84 for no wicket, and that was, well, played almost casually. Lovely piece of timing into that Colin Atkinson pavilion.
It's the problem, isn't it? Because Hussain, Trigo and Overton, all 3 of them are a similar kind of pace. They're better than medium, but to call them medium fast is probably stretching it a little.
Yes, yes. And Kieswetter's standing up now as Traeger comes in, and he plays that forward nicely, bat and pad close together. To point who fields, and there's no run. Kieswetter takes the throw in there from the fielder, and not clapping or chuntering, not saying much as he usually does, which is unusual, just silent at the moment as he waits for Trigo with umpire Willie. That reassuring figure by him, and that's a slower one. In fact, he came in quite gingerly. It's driven away into the covers, and a very well, shrewdly judged single there from Adams, and Trago just seemed to jog in there. He's ailing a bit. Before the match started, actually, when they were practicing, he actually hurt himself, and he hurt his, I think, his right knee, and he was down out for the count for ages, just flat on the turf, and it did look absolutely terrible to begin with, but thankfully he stood up, and he's been able to bowl.
Yeah, I think that was the back of the hand one, wasn't it? That was the one where he's trying to do them with the change of pace, and unfortunately he just didn't deliver it particularly well. And you know, they needed a special slower. They needed a special bowling performance to keep them in the chance with winning this match, and at the moment it's definitely below par. So they've been below par with the bat, below par with the ball, and unsurprising that as a result of that, a decent one-day unit with some good players is rather putting them to the sword.
It is, as Overton comes in now and bowls outside the off stump. That's wide, and it's slapped away down to the boundary for a quick single once again. That deep sort of cover point boundary. So Kieswetter standing up again, and young Overton here, Craig Overton, 18 years old, local lad from Devon, I believe, comes in now and bowls, and that's short, and it's spanked away and spanked hard down to the boundary. Lovely pull stroke, picked up over mid-on down to the boundary. Lovely shot for 4 runs there by Michael Carberry, and he really is in good nick as well. He's he looks like we've got him in peak form at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, his scores would indicate that, and the problem with Craig Overton, unlike his brother, who is a good yard or two quicker in pace, he can't dig it in that short, because a good batsman in form is going to see it and smack it.
Overton again, and that's spanked again hard over the infield, but just down to the cover boundary for a single.
See, that was better though, because it was a false shot. He was playing at the other side of the wicket. It's come off not quite a leading edge, but certainly the outside half of the bat, and it was a false shot. So you know, Craig Overton can feel better about that. That's the area he needs to be bowling it, pitching it up, looking for it to just do enough off the seam and off the pitch.
Yeah, it certainly deceived the batsman there. Clever piece of bowling as Overton reaches again, and that's slightly short of a length. He goes back and hits that through the offside quite nicely down to the field at the deep cover point boundary, and they take a single. So yes, good deceptive moral victory for the bowler with that ball before the one before last. Might look to try and get a catch on that boundary or in the covers. There's as I say, a conventional extra cover. There's a point. There's a sort of gully fielder as well as Overton comes in, and that's played just wide of that man, and it's going to go down to the boundary for 4 runs. That was nicely guided away, actually. I thought for a second it was an outside edge, but he did sort of pretty much guide it, and that's another 4. So that takes the total to 96 now, and they're nearly got to the 100. So they're motoring along here, and in a situation like this, it's just where you're looking for a bit of inspiration from someone to pull off a catch or unexpected run out, just to lift the fielding team a bit as Overton comes in. And again, that's hit nicely through the offside, went back and eased back, forced that away to the deep cover point boundary, and they took a single, and that's the end of the over. He takes his cap with some disappointment perhaps, and walks off there.
Yeah, I mean, Somerset having done to them what they've done to teams over the last 2-3 years in this competition, they're just being outplayed in pretty much every facet of the game. They're being forced to react to what Hampshire are doing. You've got 2 batsmen in there. You know, Adams got his half century, Carberry's on 40. The 100's almost up. 13 overs on the board. I mean, at this rate, they'll be lucky to make it last into sort of above the 30th over for Somerset, and you wonder whether today, and maybe even for the other competition in total, this could be a bit of a last rites.
I think you're right. I think it's one of those games which, you know, coming into it, Somerset would have had to have dominated from an early start to have really looked to have had any hope in this competition. And looking at the state of play at present, it's quite clear that really that there's probably one eye to the championship match in the week really now. Not that it's completely a lost cause, but it's not looking good at the moment, as Dockrell, who see how he bowls here. That's quite a flat one that Carberry plays out into the covers, and there's no run. So Dockrell quite a key man here, I think, because the spinner earlier on bowled extremely well, I thought, at Briggs. So Dockrell again, that's slightly quick, and he goes back and forces that convincingly down to the boundary for 4 runs. That's a lovely shot. Went back and cut it hard and convincingly past that point fielder, and that was 4 runs. So not the start Dockrell would have liked.
No, hoping for a little bit of control, and certainly in the championship. I mean, his economy figures, not that you look at that first, but they're generally very good. But against the batsmen who are looking to be aggressive against him, it is that much more difficult.
Indeed, Dockrell again bowls, and that's flighted a little bit more, played forward by Carberry, out onto the offside, and that point fielder runs in, who I believe is Joss Butler, I think. Yes. No run. And that's played by Carberry this time, up on the onside to long on, and he takes a quick luxury. Well, took that with some ease, really, as if it's just a bit of fun, really. Very easy for him to just trot that single. Umpire Willie waits as Dockrell spins the ball from one hand to the other and comes in and bowls a slightly quicker one, which Adams goes back to force away, but the fielder again runs in. Joss Butler saving that run. Dockrell, other than the boundary, has bowled pretty well in this over as he comes in again, and played away by Adams for a single and possibly 2. There's a little bit of a mix-up, but they don't go for it, and all's well as the return comes in to Keyswetter. And that's the end of the over, as the bowler looked skyward with some annoyance as that single was taken. I think he disappointed with himself there. Carberry now on 45 not out, Adams on 56 not out. The score 103 for no wicket. The sun really is belting down here. It's absolutely glorious. It really is a picture. Of course, the museum's just reopened at the ground, all been refitted inside, and it was reopened last week. Got some fascinating pieces in there if you're ever at the ground and have some spare time. If it rains a little bit, do go in there. It's got Ian Botham's bat from 1981 amongst other things. Lots of Viv and Joel memorabilia as well, as Overton comes in, and that's lofted in the air. That's going to be caught by mid-on, and it's caught. Well caught, actually. That was a good catch because it was going very high in the air, and that was well caught by Barrow, who came in and well, he was looking possibly up into, not really into the sun. He was okay, but that was a misjudged on drive, lofted in the air, and it was caught very well, and that's well, that's a nice blow for Somerset. It was greatly needed, but Jimmy Adams goes, so good innings from him. 456 in the end, so well done him. He's getting a good hand as well.
Yeah, and frankly, although not a great shot, it's one of those where in the situation of the game he's fully justified in going for it, because they're well in front of wherever they'd need to be at this stage of the innings.
Yeah,
The one thing you'd say from Somerset is well bowled Craig Overton. The fact that first of all,
ball, I think
that Hildreth stuck with him, because he's taken some fearful punishment before for that 25 runs from 3 overs, so that's more than 8 and over, which for this form of the game, I mean, you get away with that in T20 perhaps, but in TB40 that is distinctly not good enough. But he's got the wicket there, and maybe, just maybe, having done well with the bat, he can. Well, they're going to need a hat-trick or two, aren't they, to really turn things around? But at least they're sticking at it, Somerset. But you'd say you would much rather be in Hampshire's position than Somerset's at the moment.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more, but at least, you know, it steps and stages. It's a start, something for the crowd to cheer. I know there's a local character who's often here called Tractor, who enjoys his cider, who's probably cheering away when that wicket fell with some irony, I expect. But Overton is getting ready now with that 12 on his back to run in, as Tim Robinson, the umpire, waits, and he bowls, and that's out short outside the off stump. He goes back and forces that away to that deep cover fielder for a single, which they take quite easily again. Again, you know, lots of easy singles. They run really well, but there's been a lot of boundaries too at a crucial time at the early part of the innings, which of course Somerset weren't able to do. They were strangled at the beginning of the innings, and see when all the wickets were falling at the end. But Overton again, just getting ready to come in. Keyswetter still stood up to the stumps as the new batsman surveys the leg side and awaits with bat slightly lifted, and that's down the leg side. He's going to take a quick single to fine leg. That's a leg by, actually. That's James Vince, who is the new batsman. The score 103 for 1 now, and that was a leg by. So Carberry now back to face,
and Vince has got the lovely position to be able to come in and take his time. He doesn't have to launch straight away unless he wants to get home early tonight.
Yes, as Overton again bowls, and that's whipped away by Carberry. Nice aggressive stroke down to the fielder out there on kind of deep sweeper and the sort of mid-wicket type position out on the boundary, and they took a quick single. So this brings James Vince back to face, and as you say, he's in a really nice position for a new batsman to come into, and that's down the leg side and whipped away well, and that's 4 runs. That was a lovely shot, actually. That was down the leg side, and he sort of whipped it away off of his legs, kind of sort of on-driven whip, I suppose is what you call it, and it went down to the leg side boundary, and it's kind of between square leg and a deep mid-wicket. This kind of position is where the ball went.
And it's 2 poor balls in a row from Craig Overton. Having praised him for the wicket, I mean, those are 2 gimmies, really.
Buffet bowling, as they say, gimme bowling, as he bowls again, and that's a good Yorker, full delivery, which is dug out, and they take a very quick single, but it's misfielded. Thus you hear the groans in the background, and it goes for 4 runs as a result. That was Barrow, actually. I think he may have slipped, but inexplicable, really. That was strange.
That was just really unfortunate, having put 2 really bad balls down that have yielded 5 runs. He's put a really good, quicker Yorker in, put a little bit more into that, and Vince just jabbed his bat down on the ball, and it had enough pace off the extra that was put in by Craig Overton that actually I don't think I'd blame Max Waller or Alex Barrow there. They both just felt they had a chance, and it seemed to accelerate off the surface, probably with a little bit of the spin, and it just went straight past the pair of them as they dived to try and stop it, knowing that they couldn't catch it up. So unfortunate, but another nail in the coffin.
Yes, as Dockrell now bowls the new over, which is Carberry driving nicely out into the covers for no run. That's Butler there again. Yes, I couldn't quite believe what happened there. It was a really good delivery. It certainly didn't deserve 4 runs. Very unlucky as Dockrell comes in again and bowls, and Carberry's down and lifts it over cover for 4 runs. There's a lovely extra cover drive that was lofted, and it hits the boundary as I speak, and another 4. And Carberry now goes to his 50 as the Hampshire fans cheer in the background, and he lifts his bat with the sun glints on his back. He's a happy fellow. He's played really well here again, and that was a nice shot.
51 to him, his 3rd consecutive half-century in this competition.
As Dockrell comes in now and bowls, and that's outside the off stump, and he goes back and cuts hard and down to the boundary for 4 again. What a lovely stroke that was. He just went back and cut it away. Lovely shot.
Yeah, and it is just too easy for them at the moment, isn't it? The Somerset haven't been able to apply any kind of pressure throughout any of this innings. I mean, they're going along at 7.5 to 8 and over, and just pressing the accelerator whenever they need to. So you get the feeling this could be over sooner rather than later.
Yes, as Dockrell bowls again, and that's on a Midland leg and played out to mid-wicket, who runs across quickly and fields. So that's a blessing. Delivery without a run. As Dockrell comes in again, flights this one up and is driven, and lovely, beautiful stroke through the covers, easy as you like for another 4. That really was a nice shot again, but just too easy, but nicely played.
Picked the gap, didn't try and overhit it, and he's a powerfully built man, isn't he, Michael Carberry?
Yeah, big shoulders.
And he just needed to get to the pitch of the ball, and I'm afraid the attack at the moment, shorn as it is of the likes of Steve Kirby and Alfonso Thomas, has been made to look every inch the inexperienced unit that, frankly, it is.
Yes, couldn't agree more. Dockrell, a little bit disappointing here. I was kind of looking forward to seeing him bowl, but he's not had a great time here, as that's again cut off of his stumps and cut well for another 4. He went back and he just, well, that's real confidence there. Touch playing by the batsman, timed it beautifully. Pass point for 4 runs. Lovely shot again. So very expensive over in the end, that. A number of 4s were hit. Two out in the covers. A couple of cut strokes. So 4 4s at least off that over. I think it was 4 4s. So a very expensive one for Dockrell, and we've got coming on now.
Max Waller,
yes.
Yeah. And he would have been begging for a chance, having not had a bowl at all in the last match. But
no.
Talk about the double-edged sword. He gets a chance to bowl, but when he's got a batsman completely set at one end and a seemingly impossible task on the scoreboard.
Yes, it is a very difficult situation. He's just practicing a delivery as I speak, and just touching the wicket with one of his hands, and he's spinning one from one hand to the other. So he's going to bowl some spin here, and he bowls, and that's on off stump and played easily away by Vince out into the covers for a single.
I suppose you don't see that many leg spinners, do we?
No.
So, you know, it's something that the batsman won't be as used to facing. But the question is really, I mean, Max Waller needs a couple of really eye-catching performances to get himself back into the team and being used regularly. So he's got plenty to prove, even if the match is all but gone for Somerset.
Also very young, of course, as he comes in and spins, fizzes out of his fingers, but Carberry smothers the spin and plays it out into the covers for no run. And yes, it's interesting action, very short, comes in, trots, and that's reverse swept by Carberry, I think for 4. Yes, it goes into the boundary. That was a deftly played stroke. He played that with the air of a man who's just contemptuously seeing the bowling off with a view to going off to Hampshire very soon. So
you know what, I'm revising my 30 over target to 25 at the moment. It's looking like if Carberry stays there for the 5 overs, this could be well, as good as done. I mean, Somerset just don't have any answers at all.
They don't. And Tim Robinson now just keeps a hand out, waiting for Waller now. His batsman is ready. Carberry bat raised, drives that nicely down the ground for a single. So it really is a case of bonus if they don't get a boundary at the minute. It's that easy. And this perhaps a competition that Somerset will be pleased to forget this year round anyway. This time round, as Waller comes in and bowls, and that's outside the off stump. He just forces that away down to the boundary for a single. Chap in the deep cover boundary, incidentally, and they take that quite easily. So we've got no slips, of course. We've got a sort of no mid-wicket, I notice, as he comes in and plays that down in front of himself, Carberry, but doesn't take a run, and that's the end of the over. An over which now sees Hampshire moving on to 137 for 1. Carberry 68, Vince not out 10.
The ball beats the fielder, Compton with a despairing dive, and it's gone past him, and Carberry's got, in his multitude of falls, a fortuitous one there, and Hampshire move gaily on to 185 for 1 in the 26th over. Hello again, Ben.
Hello, yes. Not good at the moment, is it, for Somerset, to put it lightly? Understatement of the month.
Gregory in once more, driven this time by Carberry, but that's square of the wicket. Butler there. He's spent most of his afternoon in the shade of the Somerset stand, in front of the green seats. Plenty of people in the bunting on the, top row of the retirement homes there. Gregory hasn't found much rhythm. I don't think any of the Somerset bowlers have found any rhythm. When you consider how well Dimitri Mascarenhas bowled, none of the inexperience to those dizzy heights, as this is a slower ball attempted by Gregory, but his line is outside leg stump, and it's just turned around the corner easily by Vince. Another single to the total, 187 for 1. They require 213, and they have 14 overs after this one. I think they'll do it.
Yeah, certainly it's looking like Dimitri will get man of the match for his bowling performance, really. He's been the difference between the two teams.
Gregory, past umpire Willie now, up to the wicket, bowls short and wide, down the leg side. Carberry ducked underneath that one. I'm surprised at that. There is a man out on the hook at deep square leg, that's Nick Compton, and there's also a man at fine leg as well, or long leg.
He was unlucky with that 4, wasn't he, Compton, a few balls ago?
Yes,
just
bounced
over there.
In front of him.
Yeah.
So that's what happens when your luck's not in. Here goes Gregory once more up to the wicket, and it's driven through mid-wicket. I think he's going to get 4 here. A long chase for Compton, and he does just cut it off. A long run round, and Carberry comes back for 2. That moves the score to 189, and Carberry has moved into the 90s. 91 he's on now, and well, he's batted splendidly.
He has. It's been a lovely innings. Beautiful drives and cuts. But having a chat earlier on in the members with a rather frustrated Somerset fan who couldn't understand why Alfonso's being rested, but Traeger is playing when he needs a rest.
Gregory and once more, that's Fuller and wide, and Carberry went reaching for it, didn't get there. A puff of dust as his bat hit the turf.
Yeah.
Keyswetter dived to his left-hand side, and there's no run. Thus ends the 26th over. 189 for 1 is the score. Carberry 91 not out. His strike rate has been well above 100. In fact, all the Hampshire batsmen's strike rate have been well above 100. The only Somerset batsmen that managed that were James Hildreth. Not much use when you only face three balls.
Yeah.
And Craig Overton, who was thrashing around a bit, came in during the power play. Here goes Waller bowling to James Vince, who just prods that into the onside, gets his head and bat over the ball, watches it all the way, and there's no run. Waller in once more. He bowls, and this is pulled by Vince. There's a man at long on. That's young Overton does the fielding. One bounce and in it goes. And I tell you what, Waller does like to get through his overs. There's no time for procrastination from a commentator's perspective while he's bowling. Although at the moment he's just rearranging his field somewhat. Joss Butler, he's asking to move into short mid-wicket. And Waller is ready to bowl once more. The right arm leg spinner fires it down the leg side. That's a horrible wide. And one more goes to the total.
Good piece of keeping there. He anticipated well Keyswetter and perhaps saved a few runs for what it's worth.
Piece of goalkeeping there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just parried it into the onside. Here goes Waller once more. Tosses it up this time, and it's driven by Carberry. He's got all the time in the world, and he is going to reach his 100 if he can stay there to the end of this innings. And it will be thoroughly deserved. He's hit 12 fours, thrashed Dockrell in particular to all parts of the ground. 4 fours in 1 over, I remember. A chastening experience as Waller comes in to bowl once more. He darts it in, it's thrashed wide and square on the cover drive from James Vince, and he'll come back for 2. I can't make out is that James Hildreth down there in the deep now? They're in the shadows and they're wearing their Darth Vader style outfits, the Somerset players, so Ben can get his binoculars on him.
That is
Here's Waller once more.
Quite get a view.
That's down the leg side again. Attempted sweep, and there's no run.
I think that's Joss Butler, actually. Yeah.
Here goes Waller again. And that's swept by Vince. There's a man at short fine leg, Jamal Hussain, who does the fielding. No run. 195 for 1. Here goes Waller once more. Vince gives himself room and thrashes that through the vacant mid-wicket area. Compton ran round from square leg, but there was no way he was getting that. Waller's disgusted with himself, but James Vince looks like he had all the time in the world to play that shot. They just require 14 runs now. They've got 13 overs in which to do it. They won't need that. Hampshire are flying here. They're going to win by 9 wickets.
Yeah,
Carberry's on 92, and Vince all of a sudden 42 not out.
Absolutely. I mean, you'd think that was, if you just arrived in the ground, you'd be forgiven for thinking that was a sort of benefit match, or this was a benefit match or something. It's just so easy. tossed up and spanked away. Nice stroke. But yes, I was speaking to a Somerset fan earlier who couldn't understand the non-selection of Errol Sapire, and he was a bit knocked at Trigo being, as he put it, over-bowled or overplayed, but all down to opinion, I guess. Easy in hindsight as well.
Gregory will continue to Carberry, who works that off his toes, gets good connection in that, and goes to Nick Compton, patrolling in front of the Andy Caddick Pavilion there. A round of applause, a generous round of applause from these wonderfully generous Somerset fans. That's Hampshire's 200. They've got there for the loss of 1 wicket. I'm sure Hampshire are going top of this group, and I haven't seen the table at this stage, but it wouldn't surprise me that if this innings is doing them their run rate the world of good, as Gregory trots in once more and Vince drives. This is going to Compton once more. He's a busy man out there, isn't he?
He is, busy boy. It's all over bar the shouting, I guess, really looking at this.
We can count down the runs, 12 required now.
It's Carberry, he's the man that has been largely responsible for this fabulous reply by Hampshire, and he'll want that 193 now.
Well, they could get there with 2 lusty blows, although it's only Jimmy Adams who's hit 6s in this innings, as Gregory bowls, and it's cut away, and it's edgy, and it just evaded Craig Overton, who didn't dive in the end. He let it go past him. Trigo ran round. That's 4 more to Carberry. A little bit streaky in that particular cut shot, but they all count. He deserves a bit of luck. He's moved on to 97, 3 runs shy of his 100. 205 for 1 is the score now, and Hampshire inch ever closer to 13, the target. So 8 required. Gregory up to the wicket once more. It's short, and it's a slower ball bouncer, and it's bounced in front of Keyswetter, whose legs were akimbo. It went through them, and that's 4 byes, and just a measure of perhaps the sloppiness of Somerset's ground fielding. Keyswetter's got the bug now. Hampshire move on to 209. Well, Carberry will be thinking, well, let me get these last 3.
Yeah.
Actually, it's 4 they need, isn't it? 213, but Carberry needs 3 for a century, so a little bit of jeopardy for Hampshire fans at the end of what has been possibly the most one-sided one-day match I've seen here in many a year.
Yes, couldn't agree more. It really would top a fantastic day for Carberry if he was to get those 3 runs. It would be almost too perfect.
Gregory in, Carberry drives, but he's not beating the infield. It's fielded at mid-off by Max Waller.
Well, Max Waller's one of the chaps that Somerset can at least look at, has bowled, you know, reasonably well. He's tried to contain at least, and Nick Compton's batting, Joss Butler's batting. There's not a lot from the Somerset perspective they can take from this game other than those 3, really.
Quite. This is a game that they'll want to put to bed ahead of some more important fixtures to come, as Gregory bowls. This is driven again by Carberry. He's looking to pierce that infield. He can smell his ton up, but that has been fielded at short extra cover by Joss Butler, and there's no run. 209 for 1, and they're having a conflab in the middle of the square now, because Michael Carberry, the senior man, will be saying to the younger James Vince,
give me the strike.
Now you just play out a maiden over here. I don't care about accusations of spot fixing, because I've got a ton to get. Or is he a bit more of a team man, or is he saying, Vincey, if you want to smash this for 6 and bring us home, then you can go right ahead?
Absolutely. Well, who can forget when we had Pakistan here and it was the centre of all that, when we had all the media around the ground. I'll never forget that extraordinary day in the news.
Thing I remember, I was up here, Ben, on that day. Thing I remember about that, as well as Sky, ITN, BBC News Channel doing reports from the roof every couple of minutes, was that Lewis Gregory took 4 Pakistan wickets on his first class debut. Seems like a while ago.
It's great that you remember that, you know.
Here's Jamal Hussain then, back into the attack from the old pavilion end. Full toss, first ball, and Vince, I think he has been listening to Mr. Carberry. That was a full toss on leg stump, and if Vince had played like he has for the rest of this innings so far, he would have smashed that through the onside, possibly for 4, maybe for 6, but he played that in a very reserved manner, didn't he? Just tickling it round the corner for a single.
Bit of team spirit. I remember when was it Graham Thorpe was often berated somewhat for not giving Alex Tudor the strike.
Yeah,
99 not out, wasn't it?
Yeah, against New Zealand.
Never had a chance again, of course.
Well, Carberry's on 97. Hampshire require 3.
Oh my goodness,
he smashes a full toss back down the ground. It's gone all the way for 6. That is Michael Carberry's 100. It's Hampshire's victory. 216 for 1 they finished on. They have thoroughly thrashed the Cidermen at the county ground this afternoon. 3 defeats in 3 in the CB40 competition. It's a long, long way back from here. The days of battling on all 3 fronts, and Custer's last stand seem a long way away for Somerset. Hampshire have won by 9 wickets. They've thoroughly outplayed Somerset, and it's a deserving victory. Ben?
It's about as one-sided as you can get, really. I mean, that was a wonderful knock from Carberry and a lovely 6 down the ground, but it just came so easily for Hampshire. There was a few pluses for Somerset, as I mentioned, but Hampshire really have all the positives from this game, all the aces. They came into it having dominated 2 previous games, and they must fancy themselves as possibly winners of the title. Who knows? And but Carberry really timed the ball beautifully, both sides of the wicket, particularly strong outside the old stump. Lots of lovely cuts and drives, and yes, a perfect day for him, almost too perfect. Finishes the day 103 not out, Vince 44 not out in that 216 run chase, and yes, as good as it gets really for Hampshire, as Carberry lifts his bat to the crowd there, accepting the applause. And well, Somerset, the people that have come today, I mean, obviously it's not been as they would have liked, but they've seen some great stroke play from both sides, but particularly the Hampshire men, and that's the main thing. But from a cricketing neutral standpoint, there's been some lovely stroke play from Carberry in particular, and they're just milling their way home now over to the Quantocks and where else they're coming from. But
well, Ben, thank you for your company this afternoon, Ben Manning, and I'm sure we shall speak again in the not too distant future. Shame it was such an aberration of a game from a Somerset perspective, but you live and learn. Thank you for joining us too on BBC Somerset's medium wave frequencies. Hampshire have won them by 9 wickets. Just run through their card quickly. Michael Carberry finished not out on 103 from 82 balls. He smashed a 6 at the end, hit 13 fours. Jimmy Adams, the only wicket to fall, bowled Craig Overton, caught Alex Barrow for 56 off 49 deliveries, and James Vince was the man not out on 44. There were 13 extras as well, meaning they knocked off Somerset's 212 with 28.2 overs, so they had 11 overs and 4 balls to spare. A win by 9 wickets really is a thrashing. Somerset stay bottom of this CB40 Group B game. But of course, there's plenty of time to go. They travel to Worcestershire in the County Championship next week. Stay tuned to BBC Radio Bristol and BBC Somerset for regular updates from there. But for the time being, from all the team, Ed Hadwin, Ben Manning and myself, Pete Simpson, at the county ground in Taunton, it's a very good evening.
Of the week, in about 10-15 minutes time. Now, I've been telling you about a medieval pageant that is